Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 272. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, someone's gonna get their head kicked in.
And Matt's just made it a thing every week to make a wrestling reference for these intros. It's just these.
Is that what that was?
It's just these
It's off the top of my head because that's all I care about right now.
Yeah. And also here, direct from the bosom of Margaret Thatcher, Connor is here.
I really hope you recorded that before, so there's context for that down the line somewhere.
I think I may have recorded that weird conversation where we said you were breastfed by Margaret Thatcher. I think that came up.
Well, guys, I just want to say that's the height of the show is going to be today. So, just buckle in because it's going to be a rough one.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. So yeah, I showed up being very sleep deprived to find out that all three of us are pretty sleep deprived. So it's going to be a loopy one today, but hey, that's is what it is. I feel like I get my head kicked in. To put it bluntly, I suppose.
I'm just listening to some Sax House. It's the only thing that's going to get me through this show.
Well, this is a DC Comics show. We get together, we've read a bunch of her books, and we talk about them. It's really quite that simple. Coming up on this week's show, I will address, first of all, that something we said was coming this week apparently got delayed, and it occurred to me after I read most of my books. I felt like, didn't we say last week there was 3 Tom Taylor books? What happened to the third one? And I checked. It's next week.
I had a panic when I got to the store and it wasn't in my box. So, yeah.
I imagine Matt throwing a fit and like throwing comics on the floor, going, "Where is it? Where's Superman?"
You laugh, but I have a very antagonistic relationship with one of the workers, like a fun antagonistic, and he would hide it from me. So you're not far off.
I found out when I got to my store that in the UK, the print versions of Nightwing were delayed by a week, so I had to get it digitally for this week.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yep. I mean, there are worse books to double dip on, let's be honest.
Yeah, support it. It just means you've inflated its sales by an extra one.
Yeah. Everyone counts. It's a small market as it is.
Yeah, it's not like you had to buy. Well, we'll see if there's anything this week that would be the butt of that joke, but insert your own from the past.
Not to spoil anything, but I don't think there's anything that I read willingly that would be for that.
Sure. Well, anyway, coming up on this week's show, then the list as it is, despite the fact that Superman Son of Kal-El got pushed a week, but what we did have is Batman 113, Nightwing 84, Catwoman 35, Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly issue 1. You'll notice I've grouped all the Fierce the 8 bannered books in a
smart.
Then we got the Flash 774, the Batman the Detective issue 5, Aquaman the Becoming issue 1, Supergirl Wound of Tomorrow issue 4, and Connor's tackling a Patreon book of Harley Quinn Annual 2021. So that is the schedule for today's discussions. Everyone's excited.
Yeah. I thought that was going somewhere, and then it just trailed off into nothingness.
Yeah. There were books on a list that we collectively read.
Speaking of lists of books.
No! Why did you say list? You know that's a trigger word. He's like the Winter Soldier. That's one of his words.
Damn it. Sorry, everyone.
Let's activate list mode.
There's always time to start the show with the ComiXology Top 10. Time of recording, books that are on the charts of ComiXology right now. Number 1 is a DC book, so I'm going to...
I got this.
Okay, Matt, go on and go.
Batman.
Would you believe it is indeed Batman 113 at number 1?
I thought you were going to throw a curveball at me and go, no, it is not. It
was Miracle Molly, obviously.
Yeah, Catwoman. I don't know.
It's Kite Man issue.
Hell yeah.
2 from 8 years ago or something. I don't know if there's ever been a Kite Man book. There probably hasn't been.
Hasn't been.
Give Tom Taylor time. I mean Tom King.
Tom King. Yeah, get Tom King time.
I've either had too much caffeine or not enough today.
Not enough.
So number 2 is X-Men issue 3. How many, did they just renumber this again? Like, when did we go back to number 1?
It's Gary Dugan. Jerry, Gary, whatever.
It's Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, we're back to DC. If anyone would like to...
Batman. Just a different Batman.
Technically, Batman's in the title.
The Detective, 89?
No.
I don't know what came out.
Oh, American Molly. That's number 3.
Oh, Secret Files. See, I forgot it was Batman Secret Files. Yeah, see.
And then number 4 is Nightwing. So, these Fear State books
I'm
doing
actually
well.
surprised Miracle Molly sold that. Like, don't get me wrong. I know it's got the Batman name attached, got the Fear State attached. It's got Tynion's name attached. But still, that's pretty high.
Yeah, Tynion's got that big comic dick waving around now. Things are selling just based on his name.
Did you see the pre-order sales for his spin-off of Something's Killing the Children?
I did not know.
It's, I believe, sitting at 460,000.
Good Lord.
Yep.
You should probably read that book in Department of Truth. I'm gonna go to the shop.
You would love Department of Truth.
Yeah, it's on to the list to check out his other creator-owned books.
He also said he's doing a art style portrait book of all the cryptids from Department of Truth.
He's putting them in his newsletter starting this coming week. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so that's real cool. He's doing some fun stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So Nightwing number 4, number 5 is X-Men Onslaught Revelations issue 1.
Lord, they can't let stuff go, huh?
What a title!
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where there's no way the title's actually all there.
It just keeps going with words that are meaningless.
So I just have to hope I can read the title on the thumbnail of the image, because it's not fitting into the little designated area for the title on this page.
You hover over it, does it not pop up with the full link one?
It does not actually.
ComiXology is shit. This is why they're killing the site.
I assumed it would. I honestly thought it would when you said that, but I just tried it. It didn't do it. So
yeah. This is why they're killing the site. It's easier just to put it out of its misery than try and make it work like a modern website.
Number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy issue 18.
Which was the final issue that they didn't tell anyone was the final issue until you got to the end of it, and they went, "We're done."
Oh.
Oh, comic book business is.
But did no one notice that there wasn't any issues solicited for the next 2 months?
They did, but Marvel does this where they'll sometimes just take a couple of months off in their solicits and not say it's cancelled, but not say it's on a break. That it'll just pop back up a few months later.
So what you're saying is to keep everyone on their toes. You're never sure. You're never sure if it's been cancelled or if it's just taken a couple of months off.
Including the creatives.
Yeah.
Number 7, back to a Bat book, Batman the Detective. Issue 5 is number 7. And then Alien issue 7 is number 8. That Alien book has consistently been in these top 10s most months it's been out.
Shame the art.
That cover was
utterly
something
dreadful, isn't it? The interior art, I don't know about the cover.
The cover looks fine from the thumbnail here.
Yeah, well, no, the cover is a xenomorph coming through like corn stalks, and it's.
Oh yeah, it does look good. Yeah,
it looks pretty cool. That's a cool image.
Yeah, there was one of those, those asylum level movies that came out last year called Shark of the Corn, I think it was called, and it was like Children of the Corn, but there was a shark in the cornfield. Oh,
the shark is the one behind the rose.
Yes. And I'm just thinking of this is the Alien crossover with Children of the Corn. It's a xenomorph in the corn.
There's a very nice cover. I've just looked up.
Yeah, I watched Pumpkinhead for the first time.
Oh yeah.
I did not realize Stan Winston directed it. I had known his name was attached, but
yeah, that was his he's going to try and direct himself kind of.
Yeah, and I gotta say it wasn't badly made. It's very very weird. But Pumpkinhead straight up looked like a xenomorph.
Oh yeah, yeah. It feels like he was focusing so much on trying to direct for the first time that he sort of whiffed on the monster design a little bit, which is weird because that's what he's known for.
We'll give it a different face and just paint the xenomorph armor brown. And we'll be good to go.
Yeah, not an amazing movie by any means.
No, but I liked it. It hits my niche of creature and also weird. So I don't know if I'll rewatch it every spooky season. But I'm glad I watched it.
Well, you finally watched Dream Warriors though this week, and that's amazing. So,
Dream Warriors.
Do you know what I'm getting to watch tonight though?
What?
Jumanji.
Green Knight.
Oh, Green Knight.
It's. They
you guys talked over each other. I missed what he said.
It's a Green Knight.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah,
claimed
just
that it was
sometime.
getting a cinematic release in the theaters, but no
Right.
cinema in the country seems to be showing it.
There's no interest. No one wants to
Yeah.
see Green Knight.
No,
Connor.
I don't know what happened. Because Amazon bought up the rights to stream it
Mhm.
and distribute it to the
Yeah.
cinemas. I suspect that it's playing in like one cinema in London just so they can claim that yes, we gave it a theatrical
one.
release when they clearly didn't.
Yes, but the backwash, no railroad town that Connor lives in doesn't get Green Knight.
They have an airport.
And it was a joke, Matt. It was
Okay.
it was the joke.
I live in a pretty major city
Yeah.
with multiple large cinemas that not getting it.
Wow. Dang.
Even the little independent ones that like love to show that sort of stuff.
Trust me, I remember they've got an airport because they fired Connor. Remember that?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's
not
fine,
them off,
mate. It
it's
was
different.
redundant. There's a difference.
Yeah.
But it's funnier if I say fired.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's inaccurate.
Pete, you watched *Malignant* yet?
I have, in fact, yes.
Quick thoughts, real quick.
I appreciate how insane it gets, and the last
Okay.
20 minutes makes it worth watching just for the experience of how
Okay.
stupid and silly it is, but it's
We
not
line up.
good.
We line up. I see so many people take the stand as like he wanted it to be bad. And I was like, I don't think that James Wan goes into movies wanting them to be bad.
Like, I would say
Like,
this. You
I
know,
don't understand why my Twitter timeline is full of praise for this movie all of a sudden.
Yeah.
People were like talking about it like it's great, and now I'm
It's-
confused.
like Pete just said, we line up, which is rare, like because we have two very different tastes. But I feel this almost the same exact as he does, where about 2/3 into the movie, I'm like, why do people like this? And then the last act really, really kicks it into overdrive.
So you're saying
Uh,
I should watch it in October?
you should.
would.
You should
It's
watch
worth a
it.
watch. I've told people it is worth a watch if you like horror stuff. 100%.
It is worth a watch, but like you don't cast the lead actress from the Annabelle movie and think you're going to make a good movie, okay? That's just not what you do. All right.
Wow, way to throw her
Yeah.
under the bus.
She's devoid of charisma. There's like a black
Yeah,
hole where charisma's supposed to be.
It got worse.
Yeah, so I just had to ask Pete about that one, and because I know you haven't seen Candyman yet.
But yeah, no.
So those are the two new ones that I've seen, and then I've been going through the Nightmare movies and got to finally see Dream Warriors, and it was definitely worth the wait because that's a legit good movie. That's like not good for Nightmare. That's like just a good movie.
I like it more than the
Yes.
first one. That's my favorite of the series.
Yeah.
I did.
It's-
Yeah, I watched them all last year.
It's basically a superhero movie at a certain point, and I love
Kinda.
it about that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then they recast Patricia Arquette in Part 4.
I mean,
And-
that does suck, and I actually remember not liking 4 as that much. But when I rewatched them to review them on
Yeah.
streams, I actually found that I quite enjoyed 4. It's got a fun premise, and
Yeah, it's okay. Like I don't hate it. Like I was talking negatively about it just because coming off of the high that was Dream Warriors, and then like it didn't have to be that character. You know, it didn't have to be.
because it has to do that sequel thing where it has to sort of disregard all the characters that survived the
Mhm.
previous movie very quickly, so it can just do its own plot. Like once you get past that, its own gimmick, which is the main character, starts getting like the abilities of all of her friends who are dying, so that by the end of the movie, she's got martial arts. She knows how to do like various things.
A slight spoiler for Dream Master. As soon as the brother character was doing karate, I go, I told my wife, I go, hey Ash, Freddy's gonna karate that man to death, right? Like that's the only way. It's the only way this ends. Sure enough.
Yeah. So, and you know
Dojo-
what? Matt's negativity for part 4 on Twitter is going to come back to haunt him when he has to sit through 5 and 6. So
we
Yeah.
were supposed to watch 5 and 6 last night, and I ended up watching all of Rampage instead. I feel after hearing that from Pete, I made the wise choice.
I
So-
thought 5 was fine. Like it's not good, but it was like whatever. 6 I thought was atrocious.
6 is atrocious. 6 is terrible. Like I think 5 is not as bad as 6, but it is pretty bad. It's just kind of a soulless retread of the previous one, and it kind of like everything after 3 has this problem because 3 has the perfect ending. Like 1 and 3 is a pair or kind of a perfect double feature, and that's it. That's all you really need. But I think 2, while not great, is actually a really interesting movie for all the weird things about it. I like 2 more than 5 and 6 easily.
I do as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like New Nightmare as well, though.
Yeah, that's up until this point, the only ones I'd seen were 1, 7, and Freddy versus Jason, because obviously.
New Nightmare, I love the concept of, but when I watched that again, I actually kind of found myself feeling like it's not as.
It's very clumsy.
It's not as exciting as it should be. It's like it's got a good premise, but it's a little bit bland for what it is.
Yeah, it's very clumsy. You could tell that Wes Craven was trying the whole meta thing, which doing research about Dream Warriors, that's the concept that he wanted to do, was New Nightmare. So
it was an idea he had for a while then, yeah.
Yeah, and then Scream comes and he gets to fully do the whole satire.
Yeah, I definitely prefer Scream to New Nightmare. I think Scream was more the realization of what he's, the satirical.
But having only seen 1 and 7, I think that works, because I had no expectations of what a Nightmare on Elm Street was supposed to feel like, or you know what I mean. Like my only interaction with Freddy was through 1. And Freddy v. Jason.
I think it's really interesting watching it after all the rest, where you kind of see kind of this take on the franchise from, like, what does he think the franchise is at this point?
Right. And so I'm excited to watch it again coming up. I'm going to watch them all, including the remake, which only one person that I know has given positive vibes to.
I didn't do the remake. I tapped out.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys could guess which one of my friends likes it.
The remake does this thing where there's a lot of implied things in the original series about how bad Freddy was when he was alive.
Yeah.
The remake decides to just tell you.
It takes subtext and makes it super text.
Yes.
Basically, so when it comes to Friday the 13th, I think I'm a remake apologist. Like, it's not the best, but it's doable. Like, it's serviceable as a Friday the 13th. You're telling me that the Nightmare one inverts is that?
Oh, it's worse. Yeah.
I mean, thought the 13th remake was as good as the original 13th movie is. Like, it's perfectly fine. I think both of them are like that. I'm like,
yeah, because I mean, the first one's not the best one by any means. No. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But exciting.
So when I rewatched both those franchises for Screams, I had a newfound appreciation for 4. I thought, that was actually pretty fun. Once you get over the fact that it has to kind of get rid of the characters in the third one, pretty fun. And then I had a new appreciation on Friday the 13th for 7. I enjoyed Jason versus Carrie a lot more than I remembered from the first time. So
I had a friend go, "How do you keep them all straight? There's 12 of them." And I ran through my thing. When I get to 7, I go, "It's Jason versus Carrie." Like,
it's easy. One's your Kevin Bacon. It's Mrs. Voorhees is the killer. Yeah. 2's Sackhead Jason. 3's the one with Shelley, the practical Joker, in the barn.
And he gets the mask.
Yeah, and he gets the mask, obviously. 4's Corey Feldman, right? 5 is not really Jason, right? Yeah. And then 6 is the James Bond intro with Jason and the silliness. 7, and it's also the one that's the only movie in the series that has kids at the camp whilst the killings are going on. 7's Jason vs. Carrie. 8's Manhattan, and it's way underrated. I've always liked Manhattan. I will fight people on this. I had a lot of
fun with that one,
yeah.
That one's so much fun.
That boxing kill is one of the best of the whole series. Like,
and then also, another underrated one is Jason going by the guys listening to the boombox, and he just kicks it out from under them because he's pissed. And I'm like, yes, pissed off, sulky Jason. Good luck.
Yeah, that's like one of the 4 shots they actually did in New York. Everything else is in like Vancouver, but that's in Times Square. That you can't fake that.
9's go to hell. And
that's terrible. Good. Yeah. 10's in space, 10? Obviously. Yeah, so that's easy. Yeah. And then you got Freddy vs. Jason. There's 11, and then 12's the remake. Easy.
Yeah.
Can you tell it's October next week, folks?
Yes. Oh man, I'm excited to watch all the new Halloween. Not the new. Well, I'm excited to watch the new Halloween, but I'm gonna go through the Halloweens and rewatch 2018 for the first time since theaters.
Sure.
Hopefully, I have a better reaction to it.
I've only ever seen 1 through 4, and then 2018. Maybe this year I'll do all the Halloweens. That's what.
Yeah, maybe you should. I mean, they're not. I mean, I think H2O's. I have fun with H2O. I mean, 5, 6, and
that's
Resurrection.
I tend to, like, every year I pick a franchise and kind of work through it. It's Halloween or Leprechaun, basically.
Like, you don't.
Actually,
Connor, save yourself.
No, watch the Robs I watch for context, just so you know the full journey.
I understand the hatred. Because last year I did Nightmare, and I did something else as well. I did Wishmaster.
The first.
Oh, I had fun with.
Actually, all four have something to offer. If anything, I actually think the fourth one was the funniest because it was so like the thing about Wishmaster is that the first three movies are all about him trying to get someone to free him from his curse or spell or whatever it is. And the fourth one, he actually achieves it in the first act, and then the movie does something completely different for the rest of the thing. It's actually a really different movie.
I might have to watch Wishmaster now. I've never seen any of those.
Oh, they're fun.
Oh, they're fun.
So basically, like, I was joking when Wonder Woman 1984 came out that it was a Wishmaster movie, right?
Oh, it is.
So basically, just to give you a tease to get out, so mild spoiler for the second one. At one point, someone wishes that someone would go F themselves, and the Wishmaster makes it so.
That's fantastic.
Makes it so.
Yeah.
So
I need to see the Howlings too, because I've only ever seen the first one, and it was a very long time ago.
Howling,
Yeah.
I don't love the first one, and the second one's got some charm, but after that, it starts to go pretty downhill.
Yeah, I know. Like you just said.
Like, do you know how we went through the Friday the 13th there, and there was like a signifying quality to each one? I say that's that one, right? The seventh Howling is the line dancing one.
Today I learned that there's a seventh Howling.
I might have to put up a Twitter poll for voting on my friend. Halloween, Leprechaun, Howling, or
don't let Tim see, because he's gonna get his people, and you're gonna have to watch Leprechaun. The
newest Howling, the eighth one, was a reboot they did that was inspired by Twilight, so you know what that's going for.
All right, I'm back in. I just became the TikTok meme with pork and beans, spam, hot sauce. I'm back in. Twilight? Oh, man.
So, I just want to go back, because if he's going to watch Halloween Resurrection, the only thing I'll say about that movie is it's a wonderful timepiece, because it comes from a very specific slice in time where it's... The whole plot of that movie is that someone's trying to do a 24-hour live stream in Halloween night set in the Myers house, right? So we're at a point in time in 2002 where apparently a live stream like that is like a normal thing, but... the main character has a device which is not a phone, but it's like just a texting device, and that's like a main plot point of the movie. Is you can text, you can chat with someone on a texting device.
Yeah, like a sidekick kind of deal.
I didn't realize live streams were a thing like that in 2002 outside of like TV channels.
I think they really were.
Part of the thing is, can you spend the night? So they're going to get a bunch of teenagers together. Can you spend the night?
It's like a reality show.
The Myers house, and
okay.
we're gonna live stream it. And it's going to be on the internet, and it's a pay-per-view type thing. And then, of course, Michael Myers shows up and starts, offing them all. We also get a great Busta Rhymes line reading.
Oh, yeah, Busta Rhymes is in that movie.
It's that one and Zombies H2, both very, very not good.
Resurrection's funnier, though.
But you can have a good time with Resurrection. I remember finishing Halloween 2, and I text Pete and go, I don't think I'll ever be okay. Having just watched that, not because it's gory or anything, it's sometimes horror and art school wannabe stuff does not go together, and that's one of the times.
I don't know, there's a point where Michael watches his dead mother riding on a horse that I just kind of, you know what, so, I hated the last one, but this
hell is this movie?
But this one's going too far.
But so I'm very excited to go back to Halloween, because as much as I love Jason, over the last year I've had a reawakening for Mike, and those are legit. The majority of them are legit good movies. Well, I won't say majority, but there's a couple.
Yeah, I would say majority. The one's an absolute stone cold masterpiece. And then I have a lot of fun with 2 and 4.
I also enjoyed 3 a lot.
I love 3.
I know it's unconnected, but I still enjoyed it as a movie.
When I talked about Pumpkinhead just being weird and of a time, that's like the vibe of 3. It's weird of a time, and I do love how they're giving shout outs to that one in the new one, with the kids in the masks and whatnot. Yeah. Just to let us know that it's not forgotten.
Halloween 3 starring Tom Atkins' mustache. Yes.
Yes.
Well, with that said, number 9, Once and Future, issue 20.
Hey, Once and Future's on there. Matt, you started reading that yet?
Oh yeah, I finished the second trade, so I'll be good. Yeah, I saw Beowulf. King Arthur's still at it. He's a bit of an a-hole.
Yep.
So, yep.
And not to delay this any further, but I think since it is October next month, maybe I'll do like a Halloween or a horror movie recommendation each episode next month for the funds.
You'll have to let me know on when I'm not here for my birthday, so then I'll have other stuff to watch.
Yes. And at number 10, to round out the top 10, is The Flash, issue 774, so that's snuck on there.
It's good that's in the top 10.
Yeah, people like having a Wally book. So, funny that, isn't it? Looking just a little bit ahead, see where some of the little DC books falls. A few Marvel books after that. That Star Wars Bounty Hunters has fallen a bit out of grace, isn't it? Usually in the top 10. That's number like 14 this week. But Batman Animated Adventures continues, number 15. Supergirl's at number 16, 17. Pardon me. And then Catwoman's a couple of slots under that. Aquaman comes in at almost at the bottom of the page. Yeah.
Was that news that it got announced that Ram V's done with Catwoman after a certain?
I don't think I saw.
I haven't seen any of this.
Okay.
I mean,
Connor would know.
The only thing I saw from Ram V this week is that he quote tweeted someone who said, "Oh, first Tynion's leaving, now Ram V's going," and Ram V quote tweeted it with like, "Huh? I've actually teased that I've got more DC projects coming." So,
well, I had read
is this just
something
because he's doing a Marvel book? Because obviously we know he is.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
No, he's doing stuff with Venom, but no, I had read a post saying that because of solicits that are due out, that you're gonna see that he's off of Catwoman. I don't know where it came from.
Hey, if this, if this ends up being true, then fair enough. But I have not seen this.
Okay, I didn't know if it was just me.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm scrolling his Twitter now, seeing if I can find anything. But I'm just seeing him talking about the Venom book because they announced how that's been written because it's co-written with him and Al Ewing, and it's basically they're each tackling one of the characters, and just so it'll be like one issue will be this character and one issue will be the other, and they'll kind of alternate through.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up the ComiXology top 10. Good luck to I mean, that doesn't get cut out anyway, so I was going to say good luck to David editing that, but the ComiXology top 10 doesn't get posted in its own video anyway, so he doesn't have to.
There you go. We got a lot of fun horror talk for spooky season.
Yeah.
This is what happens when we get charged up on pumpkin spice cold brew before. This happens.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm doing a lot of horror movie stuff on live streams. Male Fuzz Live YouTube channel if you want to come and do watch party stuff as I watch stuff. But so I'm kind of using that for most of my October viewing because I just got a new graphics card, so I'm like want to play a lot of games right now. So I have to balance.
I found a tweet that I think Pete may have been referencing. It seems to be just a randomers tweet. It just says more Swamp Thing from Ram V and more DC projects to come. And Ram V has retweeted that with no comment, no statement of yes or no. But
hey, I'll take more.
That means that he's at least either wanting more something or or there are plans in the works.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But like I said, there was another tweet where he did say like there's teases of more books. So like we want more Ram V books.
We like a lot of them.
Yeah. Marvel, keep your grubby little mitts off our writer.
Filthy paws off of him.
How dare you? All right.
Though I am noticing outside of like big names, there's a lot of crossover because Tom Taylor has that Dark Ages book, which I bought. I still haven't read, as I
think a lot of that is after last year as well, when DC reorganized a lot of their editorial stuff. They pretty much abandoned exclusive contracts, from what I can tell. But there aren't any really left.
Well, no, and you think a lot of the big names that come around from like New 52 and Rebirth, your Scott Snyders and your Tynions now, they're all kind of jumping to the creator-owned phase.
Yeah.
The other creators go through, like Fraction did this, and
Tom Taylor is one of the. There's a few, but the two writers that I kind of fell in love with at Marvel that I wanted to sort of do DC work. The other one's Kelly Thompson, who has not yet made the jump, but Tom Taylor at this point is writing way more DC than he is Marvel. So
he is right now. Which, and again, people forget that he's kind of where he started with the Injustice books.
Yeah,
doing that before he did.
I remember, like, if someone were to go back through some of our old threads way back around Rebirth, I remember talking a lot of trash about Tom Taylor. Because he
did the Superman stuff in Injustice.
Not because of Injustice, because of Earth 2. And then I read an interview with him that had said that these are the plans. He's working off of Robinson's plans because some of the stuff that he had done, it had, left turned and stuff. And I remember going, oh, this Tom Taylor guy, actually, it might have been too harsh on him. And now, like, what is this? 10 years later, he's our patron saint.
Yeah, I mean, it is 10 years later. I know it's 10 years because that idiot David decided to start doing a show where he reads all the books exactly 10 years after they came out on a weekly show. So check out the Not So New 52 if you haven't already on our YouTube channel or in its own podcast feed. Was that Connor?
It's a brave man.
Yeah, also, he made a cock up this week, though. He read the wrong issue of Red Hood because the trade puts like issue 6 or something first. So you read the wrong one.
Why?
I don't know. I wasn't reading Red Hood at the time. I don't know.
Why would the trade do that? Why would you do that, DC?
I don't know. I guess it was a flashback issue, and they thought, oh well.
They just wanted to sabotage that terrible book.
I mean, the fact that Lobdell was still writing it for like another 8 years at that point.
Yeah, it didn't say it worked.
My first taste of Tynion came from that book, and it wasn't too bad. Red Hood and the Outlaws. So
that was the end of the anecdote. Okay.
He's got a lot to look forward to if he makes it through that.
Sure. I mean, not that much to look forward to the New 52.
I don't like to speak nicely about the writer that he's currently reading, whose name won't go. But he does do a good Starfire story about second arc that is not terrible. Yeah. That's nice as I'll be.
All right, okay. I suppose we could get into books then. If that's where we're at.
We have chatted a lot of bullshit so far today.
That's been a lot of bullshit to do. That is very true. People enjoy the bullshit though. And none of it's been wrestling related, which is actually kind of out of character.
Yeah, I know, man.
Was that my cue to tap out for a minute?
I'm just gonna say, if we're gonna tie this to Red Hood, that's how red Bryan Danielson's chest was after that match. We
will get a tangent, but yes, that match was amazing, and it was everything.
I think even Connor would enjoy it because there's
really doubt
sport level quality to it that I think you would dig. That's all.
Atmosphere in that building was fantastic. But yes, we shall discuss
Batman
comics. Batman 113. James Tynion IV and Jorge Jimenez on the art. The next main chapter in Fear State, which picks up where we left off. As a fake oracle. Broadcasting through the city. That's like a plot thread that runs through most of these Fear State books this week. And we get Ghostmaker get into Batman's head. Although that doesn't. Let's start with that though. We start with I kind of like there's a 2-page layout at the start here that just kind of, okay, here's all the main characters of this book, what they're doing right now in the city. It's essentially a recap page in a lot of ways, but it functions, it works. But we go to Renee Montoya, who is frustrated. The city's on the brink of chaos. People need to be calmed down, and Batman pulls his, his Batman entrance. He appears out of the shadows and basically forms a working relationship. Not that he's never worked with Montoya before, but this is maybe the first time since he's became commissioner where he's shown up like he would with Gordon.
To Jim. Yeah. I like spicy, salty Commissioner Montoya.
Dropping F-bombs and all sorts.
Yeah, because that just fits with the character that I know. And if she's not dressing up as a Question, this is the version of her that I love next.
Yeah,
so.
I kind of like this. It's kind of a mission statement. It's kind of sort of put forth at the end of this, where Montoya says, the only thing that's going to break out this city, out of this state of fear, is everyone to be united in the hope of something. And I don't know exactly what that's going to be, but given how often Batman's went to the well of the giant bat signal in the sky to show everyone that help is here, or you give someone a tether. It feels there's something that's going to.
It's very on the nose. However, it's very on Batman.
Yeah.
And to play with the why do we fall, right? So
Sure.
Gotham's going to be in this state, and there's only one way to go, and that's up.
I find it interesting though. That's kind of she's kind of hit the nail on the head of what the point from Scarecrow's point of view, what Fear State is, right? it's kind of very Watchmen-esque, right? It's the common enemy to fight against. It'll be interesting to see just how it's twisted to be something good instead.
Well, no, I still think that Scarecrow has ulterior motives, and he has Mad Hatter tech, right, which allows control. So I'm sure it just doesn't end with the city pulling together. I'm sure this ends with him in control of Gotham City.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk from him about wanting to like advance humanity through the sphere state, but there's not a lot of like what he actually expects or wants them to advance to precisely. Right. It's all very kind of open right now as to what he's.
I'm not saying to believe him. I'm just saying based off of the thesis that he presents.
Right,
Kind of
which
they're talking about here in this scene.
Which I do like when a villain is correct in their assumption, right? Like it is that Ozymandias effect. It's just how they choose to go about it is not the best way, and that's what makes them the villain. So, I do feel like Gotham's going to learn a lot about itself in the best way.
I think a lot of, backstories that I love, and, this just says Dark Knight even, maybe even all three of the movies, but that's right, I said all three of the movies. There's no other Batman movies. I will not hear of it. Not until Matt Reeves gets his out.
Still kinds of goes, right?
Shut up. So,
not boiling acid.
It's boiling acid. So, yeah, like this idea of like having to inspire the city, that instill hope in the city. It's one of those things where, yeah, it's kind of like obviously playing into Scarecrow's idea, and that Batman might be the thing that sort of pulls the city out of it, but ultimately, like, we can't avoid the fact that he's put the city in this state now, and he wants to drive them deeper and deeper, and whatever. So,
and where does it end?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
That's what Connor's original question is he can just keep setting up new fear states forever.
Yeah, and it's like he assumes society will come out stronger on the other end, but if he creates something so terrifying that does cause so much damage, maybe he'll just destroy everything. Maybe it'll just go away. So like there's a lot of potential and kind of the big uplifting moment maybe when like the city's spirits are raised later in this arc, probably the last issue. Maybe the cliffhanger for the second last issue before all the big fighting. That it kind of depends on what the structure is, but yeah. So and Batman's grappling through the city. The androids, the Peacekeeper androids show up and try to arrest them. So it's just some fun action of him dodging and kicking, and he's kind of angry, and because they're not people, he's kind of getting to unleash a little bit, tear limbs off, things like that. But he goes to Ghostmaker, and the bulk of the rest of this issue is actually him whipping out his Bat Oculus Rift, which is actually mind reading technology.
This
is where it crosses into Batman I don't like.
This is the point where this issue, I don't want to say it loses me a bit, but it definitely is. It's a little bit like it has that feeling of, oh, let's just insert some backstory. Let's just kind of here's a weird way of doing some exposition that we need for this story, but we don't have a better way of showing it.
Right. I don't mind what is said with going back to to Crane.
Yeah, everything we see in the flashback essentially is fine.
Yeah. It's the delivery of the Bat Oculus Rift, and of course Ghostmaker was a student.
I'm not a big fan of that. He was a student. He went and he buddied up with Crane and was learned all about this fear state like a decade ago, or however long it would have been, 20 years. Probably.
Yeah, I think this the back half of this issue will probably go down as the weakest thing in this arc, and
probably
it doesn't kill the arc by any means. Once we're past it, it'll be fine because we're just in the story again.
I still like what he says, and this is where we get the idea of I do like the idea that basically Scarecrow has incepted Bruce with this fear thing that's unlike the toxin, right? Because anytime Bruce has encountered the fear toxin, there's always an antidote. But how do you have an antidote with something that was kind of psychologically put into your brain?
Well, you have Ghostmaker go in and slice it with a sword.
Yeah, I don't like that part of it, though. But I do like the concept of Scarecrow evolving in that way.
The two key things for me here is that one, I think this would have just been a nice flashback if we just had like an issue that had like a couple, maybe I could split up so you have like kind of that structure of like cutting back to Scarecrow's like college years and showing the genesis of this idea that he had way back at the start of his academic career. That would be fine, and it's simpler. But sometimes simpler is better. Sometimes you overcomplicate things too much by having to give them this weird way of getting to the flashback. But obviously, the one thing that Batman needs to learn, so because obviously the flashback itself doesn't give you Batman learning anything from it. The one thing he does have to learn is the idea that he's going to like focus all the fears through a central figure, and the realization that that's going to be Peacekeeper 1. It's going to be what's his face? What was his name? Murphy. What did I say? Not Murphy. Mahoney. That's
Mahoney.
the one. And he's going to be like this figure who's like just causing fear in the city and like be kind of the catalyst for all of it. Because I think my assumption when he started talking is that he meant himself. Like it was going to be Scarecrow was going to be the central figure, but he's not.
Yeah, at first I thought he meant Saint, which I still think might end up being the.
Saint comes out of this. I mean, I don't know if it's this issue specifically or one of the other Fear State books this week, but Saint came out of this week looking like a little weasel who's shitting himself.
Yeah. Which again I love because he's the tech dude. He's the idea guy. He's not the guy that gets his hands dirty. And now he's having to get his hands dirty, and he doesn't have the constitution for it.
Yeah, I actually kind of obviously like Scarecrow's names get this kind of funny gimmicky thing from like an old age, but. I kind of like when he was explaining why he calls the figure at the center of his fear state the Scarecrow. I actually kind of like that because it is kind of like on a large scale, it is kind of the same purpose as a Scarecrow, just not for crows. So,
right,
it was kind of like a workaround to just kind of like, oh, this name makes a lot of sense.
I really appreciate the dialogue in that, where the double layer of referring to a straw man,
right,
and then following up with Scarecrow, which is obviously not what straw man means, but the idea that they are often made from straw. It was just a fun little just clever little writing that just made me smirk.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, we don't like the fact that Ghostmaker happened to know him or meet him for a week back in the past, but I actually think everything Scarecrow says in his flashback is all fine, like early Scarecrow stuff that kind of helps add just a little bit of a layer to his origin, a little bit of a like, that's kind of where the name came from, and it kind of makes logically it makes sense that he called that figure in his theory a Scarecrow. So when he became someone who tried to inspire fear, he would take that name himself. It was already something in his head. Like it feels like a natural progression. This is the opposite of, oh, you're on your own, we'll call you Solo, right? This is one that feels like it makes sense, where it's like, oh, this works.
As much as I love that movie, I can't defend that line.
That is the one line in that movie that I despise.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Somehow Solo returned. Anyway,
don't bring that back. No, I'm not doing it again.
But those are the key things of the flashback. So I liked Scarecrow's character stuff in the flashback. It was just the Ghostmaker connection to it, which was a bit of an issue.
It's kind of Ghostmaker in a nutshell, really. It's kind of how we felt for a long time with his character, and this is just another example of it.
His whole character is wrapped up in being retconned into Bruce's past, and now he's retconned into Scarecrow's past too.
He's exposition maker.
And don't get me wrong,
right?
There's a lot more room for like the villains to have people retconned into their past because we don't spend as much time with them. So it's fine. Like Scarecrow knew someone at college, and they pop up now.
It
fine.
would be more forgivable if it wasn't Ghostmaker, who we'd just done this exact thing with Bruce with.
I just don't like Ghostmaker because he's everything I hate about Batman. I don't know if that's on purpose.
Yeah, like what?
In some ways, I think it is. In the idea that he is, he's Batman without the conscience.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's could have just been as simple as, they track down someone that worked with Scarecrow in college and is went into hiding because he's just been kind of a wreck since, so Batman goes and talks to him, and that's how we get to the flashback. It's just this guy telling the story of sort of how Jonathan Crane freaked him out when he was in college. Like, again,
telepathy tech and Ghostmaker.
Again, sometimes the simpler option's the best. I did like the last scene though when Batman has this realization that Peacemaker 1 is going to be this like catalyst, this central straw man, if you will. We cut to, because remember last issue we had that great cliffhanger where he's like out of it and he sees a bunch of regular people, but he thinks they're all monsters, so he kills them. We come to the aftermath of this where he's like looking at just all these dead bodies and he's got blood on his blade.
Love Scarecrow just up on the roof, just looking down at it all in the rain. Gorgeous.
Really nice. And we had the cliffhanger last time of Peacekeeper X who shows up here. So we just have this cliffhanger here where this conflict's about to hit off, and Scarecrow is just flipping a little switch, I think.
Yeah, he's triggering something, presumably in Mahoney.
Yeah. And I actually thought it was really creepy. Like, the idea that all these dead boys are lying around, he's just effectively committed a mass shooting of some kind. Maybe not all with guns, but he's yelling, "No, I'm the hero. I'm the effing hero." There's something really deranged about him screaming that after doing this.
Deranged, or like Jimenez art in this. This whole issue is fantastic. This is some of his best work, frankly. It's incredible. But that look of him at the end there is so
pretty
good.
tops. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably going to be the weakest issue of the arc because of the middle exposition dump and how it's portrayed.
It's a very common thing in direct market comics. In the middle of your 6-issue arc to have there's the exposition dump in the middle that you've just got to get through.
Right.
The only thing I've got hope for is that this is only technically part 2 of this arc. It feels a bit longer because obviously we had like the alpha issue as well.
And plus we've been building to it for so long that
but I'm hoping that we got out of the way early, so to speak.
Yeah, it feels that may be the case. Hopefully it is. So that's kind of a cliffhanger. But I really like the ending. I like the stuff with Montoya. I like and I like kind of the information we got from the flashback. It was just the method of it.
Yeah, it's stuff that I don't like about Batman in one spot. So, and when he got that VR headset out, I went, "Oh, come on, Tynion." Like. And then talking about, we don't have time to call Martian Manhunter.
I'm okay with like bat logos on a lot of things. I don't really get why you put a bat logo on this though.
Branding.
Exactly.
But no one else is going to see it though. This is something you'd use in private. Like I get the branding.
I think it says a lot about Bruce as a person.
Okay.
That he feels the need to brand everything like this, even when it's just for him.
Okay. Even down to his sons, right? They're all branded.
Not with a hot iron, though. Just
no, I don't mean like that. Not like
maybe not all.
Not like BVS way.
Not the Allison Mack way.
Oh boy, let's not.
That was a dark joke. I'm sorry. That was a dark joke.
That just at an acceptable level, and then Pete just went down we go.
I'm sorry. That was a dark joke. I went across the line.
Yep.
She was my favorite character on Smallville, and she got sentenced this week. And my wife has been very interested in that entire case. Goes, how's it make you feel? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. All right.
I mean,
it's not good.
If I were her, I'd be questioning. Matt's got a particular taste. Am I going to start doing something crazy soon?
You guys don't know her like I do. She's already a little crazy. That's why she married me. Can't be sane, But
he makes a solid argument.
Yeah. Connor, remind me when we're done. I have some questions about Taylor Swift for you that she wanted me to ask you. So, don't let me forget.
Taylor Swift asked you to ask Connor some questions about her. Okay.
No, my wife, who's believe she's Taylor Swift, had some questions for Connor.
Okay.
So
Matt's wife Taylor Swift asked questions that Connor needs to ask.
Matt wishes.
Sometimes.
Oh, I'm clipping that out and sending it to his wife.
She'll be like, "No, I wish that I could be with Taylor Swift." My wife's weird when it comes to Taylor Swift, guys. Let me just tell you that.
All right. So I'd say a good issue overall, but definitely the weakest of the arc. Just probably, at least I'm suspecting so. I technically it's only the second issue of the arc, but it doesn't feel like just a second issue, because of the way the exposition is delivered. Matt, what are you rating Batman?
I'm gonna give this one. Man, I wish I could get in between a 7.5 and an 8. That's where I feel. I'll give it the 8.
Okay, Car.
I'm gonna give it a 7, and I do think I'm probably being generous there because the art is so good. I think if it was on just the narrative of the issue, it would probably been about 6, but the art does just drag up a bit.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating because everything around the exposition VR headset, and even just the messaging that's in the exposition is really good. It's just that kind of does drag it down a bit. So I think I'm probably going to go with a 7 as well on this. So there you go. But I say that's very good. So I can play. Nightwing issue 84, Tom Taylor writing, and as we also see with Catwoman later, We have a fill-in artist for the Fear State tie-up, which is fine, gives the regular artist a break, and it is kind of a separate thing, so it doesn't feel as distracting to jump to a different artist. So Joe, I need to say this, right? Tom Taylor needs to stop making me tear up reading Nightwing issues. And what got me about this one is that this one kind of just hit me. There was no build up to it. There was no emotional scene.
I know the exact panel you're on about.
It just hit me. It was like a sniper shot. It just hit me like a snipe.
Is it that one panel of Batman in the bottom right of a page?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere.
Like, I was the same, where I was like, oh no, this issue, like, Tom Taylor's weakest issue of Nightwing yet. It's good. It's solid. It's very much an event tie-in rather than a Nightwing issue. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good, but it's not going to give me the same feelings that I get from Nightwing. And then I get to that one panel, I'm like, God damn it, Tom Taylor. How?
Because he knows what makes us tick.
He does know what makes us tick. It's really quite. And I kind of agree. I'm not mad that this is, because sometimes when things tie into an event, it can be frustrating. But DC's been pretty good in not having this happen often. And I think when you're enjoying the event and it's a core group of characters who all do interact a lot, like the Bat Family do, this does make the event feel bigger, and it's nice to kind of have his inclusion in it. So, even if it is not as good as the regular run, it's not.
But I like how self-aware it is with the Dick going. I just announced I'm going to take care of Bloodhaven, but I have to go over to Gotham because that's my home too. And so I do like that it's kind of self-aware in that way. We're going to take a break for a second so I can go help over here.
Yeah, I kind of dig. I mean, Catwoman does this more so. I think Catwoman, while still feeling like a Fear State tie-in, feels more like it's unskippable because there's still some reactions to the last issue of Catwoman that feel very important to the overall story.
Yep.
In that issue. He does reference what's going on, but for the most part, you could just sort of not put this in the trade and it would work.
I would agree as of right now, but this also does say it's Fear State tie-in 1 of 3.
True.
So
true.
by the time you get the 3 parts, maybe it'll be more relevant to Dick's character at the end of this as to his commitment to Bloodhaven, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. That could absolutely be true. And and that wasn't a complaint either. I like that it does reference at least what's going on. It doesn't feel like it's so disconnected. It's like, no, this is still the world he's from. It's kind of nice that it's not a different writer. It's nice that Taylor is the one, and the same with Ramvi and Catwoman. It's like, okay, the character has to take a break to be a part of this crisis that's going on in Gotham. So the writers who are writing those characters and their stories also have to take a break from their story to tie into, and it can happen too often and stuff. But when it's done well, it kind of like the real world craft all mirrors what's going on in the world, and that can kind of make it interesting.
Yeah. What I liked about Catwoman though is that Ram V's been seeding that aspect of Fear State through the last couple issues.
Yeah,
with the taking
more
of Alleytown.
Yeah,
so it doesn't feel that much of a digression like this one does.
It's been more directly tied in with Catwoman for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I do like that. However, I do like how it shows how the writers are different in handling it too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, because I remember when people used to complain about editorial and how everything ends up the same, and I don't feel that right now. And I don't know if it's the editorial shakeup. I don't know if it's just Fear State's almost a looser kind of event or what it is, but I do like seeing how different Tom Taylor and Ram V handle.
I think it's
tying their
Fear
books
State as an event reminds me of something like No Man's Land, in that it's here's the status quo.
Right.
Just play with it in your book, right? As opposed to this is the story we're telling.
Right, and I do like that in here it deals with, because we've had Oracle and Barbara as a character, and I do like that this arc in Fear State deals with the Oracle issue that we've seen.
Yeah, because if anything,
Batman.
I mean, Baz has been in Batman as well, but Baz has also been probably the closest to a second lead that we've had in Nightwing, so it makes sense for that stuff to kind of tie in. Before we get into the story, I mean, obviously it's not the same artist. It's not as, I wouldn't say it's as good as Redondo, but I still enjoyed this art quite a bit.
There's a Dustin Nguyen quality sometimes, like through the motion, that at first I wasn't, because it's not Redondo, right? And but then the more I kept reading, the more I was like, wow, this is the motion in this is what should be in a Nightwing comic.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Yeah,
it's very different in that Redondo, it's really clean, really strong line work, whereas this is, it's scratchy, it's really heavy shading. I think if this wasn't set in Gotham, I would have very different feelings about that transition. But because these issues are in Gotham, it feeling dirtier, so to
Yeah,
speak.
feels like he's
Yeah,
just
no,
got
it
the
makes
shadows.
and it fits, and that's
works.
where
and it keeps the because we've had this a few times in this book. It's done the Daredevil thing from the Wade Samney run, where there's a moment later on where he switches his baton into the window smashing mode. Right, it does the close up panels with the click and the split.
And they've kept that in here,
yeah. So they've kept that consistently there, so it still feels like it's part of the same through line, the same language.
Well, that was like Sorrentino does a lot of those with the coloring, where the background goes red and everything else is like kind of in silhouette. And for a while, I thought that was a Lemire thing until I read a Sorrentino Bendis book, and it did the same thing.
I know Sorrentino has a thing where even if he's not going to be the regular colorist, he always colors the first issues of any project that he does himself, so that he can set the template so he can go, this is what I want it to look like to whatever colorist he ends up working with after.
And so, sometimes it is the artist that's doing that sometimes. So I feel like here, I don't know if this artist, was like, okay, I can do something fun because that's what's been in the book, or if Taylor writes that into the script.
I suspect it was probably Redondo who came up with it and who wanted to bring it into the book. And then, when we've got guest artists, now it is baked into the house style of this book, so to speak. So even when he's playing in a different style of art, it's still part of the format. So it'll be kind of like, you've got to include these now.
Right.
It'll be in the writing.
And I do like how it's kind of tied to street level heroes. And to me, Dick is the ultimate street level hero at DC. Even more so than Batman, because Batman, of course, has all the different gadgets and stuff. But, with Nightwing, it's usually him and his batons. So I do like when that shows up.
And his butt cheeks, that's not discounting the butt cheeks.
I am, you can talk about Dick's butt, all right? But, well, me and Connor will keep it about his baton, all right?
His one baton.
As I said, his baton. I said what I said.
There's a joke in here.
I think we have an episode title.
I like we all just let that sit there for a second as well. Like, just gonna leave that there.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Don't neglect the ninja balls.
Oh, dude, you took it too far. You killed it.
What? Well, yeah, what? What'd you call those?
The bolos?
The bolos, yeah, thank you. Jesus.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it ruined the joke because I couldn't remember the actual name. I just call them balls.
You call them ninja balls, Pete.
Don't neglect the bolos. See, that'd have been so funny. Damn.
Yeah. Cradle the bolos. Caress them.
All right, so basically, he recaps what's going on a little bit, and then screech, screech, screech. His earpiece goes off, and the fake oracle that we know is broadcasting in Batman, try to spread fear, is saying Batman's dead, is saying a bunch of stuff, but mainly actually sends a direct message to Nightwing saying to be in Crime Alley at whatever time. So it's like, oh shit.
I actually like at this point as well, we don't know if it's the fake oracle or the real one, because it's communications are potentially compromised, come meet us here at this time. So it could be Babs.
And I think because we're all thinking it as well, we all know that they are compromised, if you're reading Fear State. So I'll be honest though, so I said there's an emotional panel later. This also may have the funniest panel of the week, which is when Dick goes to his neighbor and says, hey, can you look after my dog? You look after Haley for a night. And there's a little joke here where the dog's already gone because there's two kids and they love playing with the dog. And the mum says something to the effect of, I'm sure the dog will fare better than the goldfish. And Dick says, what happened to the goldfish? And the panel of the little boy who looks up, looking like the most evil piece of shit in the world, and just says, what it deserved. Broke me. I was pissing myself.
It's hilarious. That combined with the door slam after, and him just going, what the hell have I just done?
Yeah. Are we talking about the dog's name?
Haley?
I know it was a fan thing.
Yeah.
Definitely named after the circus, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't make that connection until this issue, and it just clicked.
What's what?
I was like, yeah, that's a weird name for the dog. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's the name of the circus that he came from. Oh man.
Oh, I also thought Barkwing or Bitewing or whatever.
Bitewing.
There you go.
I think Taylor still refers to him as Bitewing, as like that's the nickname still. Like it's not the official name, but It's what he calls him on Twitter.
Oh, you know, Dick Grayson has 2 names.
Why not the dog? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
just
Haley the Bitewing.
that exchange. What happened to the goldfish?
Yeah.
What it deserved.
Kids are terrible.
Like, what did the goldfish do to you to piss you
We
off
had a
this
guy come
much?
into work last week, and he goes, "Can I get a cup of water, please?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "Oh, it's sorry, it's just for my goldfish." And he just pulls up this bag with a goldfish in.
Ah, he's got gold for
I am
goldfish.
convinced Connor doesn't work at McDonald's. He works at some like cross, nexus of realities that happens to look like a McDonald's.
Some weird shit happens. Like, who comes in and goes, "Oh, I just did a cup of water. It's for my goldfish." And he just carries that in.
That's a comedy bit out of a movie. That's like a Zach Galifianakis bit.
Yeah,
I swear
I've never
that
seen a
happened.
real person have a bag with a goldfish. That's a Mr. Bean scene. Mr. Bean walks around with a bag with a goldfish in it.
I promise you, on my life, this happened. Like
I
last week before.
Connor, I believe you.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
Connor, whenever you say you're going to swear something in your life, I'm willing to roll the dice every time, okay? Every time.
And it's more like you're flipping the coin, Pete, because
Like-
you want the best odds.
Right? You know what? If this is XCOM and the shot's like a 5% chance,
Taking it anyway.
I'm taking it anyway.
I
That's
don't
fair.
get that reference, but we can move on.
So Nightwing goes to Gotham, and at this point as well, the magistrate have got these like UFO looking things in the sky that are like shining lights down upon the city and
Yeah.
getting all,
Super drones.
dictatorship, all that stuff. And Dick gets to the alleyway, and of course, pretty quickly he's like, maybe this is the trap, and sure enough, all the androids and stuff from the magistrate show up. Heads start to crack. But luckily, Batman shows up. Although, as he points out, he didn't really need his help, but like he's going to come anyway. And I like the narration here. Dick talks about how immediately they just go into their old flow. Like it's just like nothing. It's like it's
Dynamic
like
duo.
muscle memory. It's just like, okay, but it's Batman and Robin again.
They spent years fighting like this. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, so really nice stuff. We get the window breaking thing. They have to run away. They can't go up to the rooftops because of all the drones. They can't go and
No, I love that they tell the people, "Oh, we're gonna pay for that window," and then I was like, wait, do they just keep a memory of what window broke in which apartment?
Probably.
Bruce will probably just like drop off an envelope. With like
I love how it's after they run through like the wall into someone's
Yeah,
I
bedroom. And
know.
it's like, sorry about that.
We'll pay for the wall too.
Yeah.
So thin walls in Gotham, hey?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, it is. You got to remember they're in Crime Alley, which is now called Park Row because it's been,
No.
gentrified.
As Dick points out, technically it's still referred to as Crime Alley, and he theories that if they called it Lawful Lane, it might not attract as much crime.
Right. But I was just gonna make a
Matt's
gentrification.
arguing for gentrification here.
I'm not arguing for. I'm saying it's cheap, so that's why the walls are so thin. They're trying to make a profit as quick as possible. Was the point I was gonna make.
Okay.
Okay.
So they end up in the sewers because it's safer to travel down there. And Batman explains that Oracle's at the clock tower. The Oracle that's communicating is fake. And Joe, I like is because one of the plot points in some of the other stories, both in Batman with some characters and in Catwoman, is that some people like hear her and immediately are like, "That's not the real Oracle. There's no way this is the real Oracle spreading these things." But Dick doesn't have that, and it's not because he's too dumb or whatever. It's because he doesn't hear the general spread of information. He doesn't hear that Batman is dead and there's no hope. Everyone be scared.
He hasn't seen any of that.
Yeah.
He just got one encrypted message.
But he explains that Babs is at the clock tower, so go and help her. And then Dick tries to thank him for helping. He didn't really need to, but
yeah. And Bruce is like, "Yeah, you could have handled it." He's like, "Yeah, but still appreciated."
And then out of nowhere, Batman just drops this: "I watched my parents die in that alley. I wasn't going to let that happen to my son." And I'm like, "Damn it, Taylor!"
It's so out of nowhere, and like, God damn it, why? Feelings.
It's too much. It's too much. So Dick goes to the clock tower, speaks to Babs. Whoever's doing this, they have to go shut down this fake oracle. And she's like, I'm not staying here. I'm coming with.
Whips out a brand new Batgirl suit.
Yeah, it's kind of
not that dissimilar to the last one.
It's kind of like a mix of the last one. It's got the colours of the Burnside outfit, but it's...
The ears look weird, and I don't know if that's artistic interpretation.
I think they're just a bit longer than you're expecting, that's all.
Yeah.
Quite straight, but I mean, yeah, it looks fine.
A bit of a mix and match. Hey, you know what? I'm okay with this being a Nightwing and Batgirl book for a few issues.
Me too. Because the lack of... I know we're getting the Batgirl's book, but that's not going to be Barbara's book, right? That's going to be... Like, she's
going to be there, but she's not going to be out in the field as Batgirl that often.
No, so if Nightwing's going to be the co-lead, and it's Nightwing and Oracle, cool. I'm more than okay with that.
I feel like we're not too far away from the same way that like Green Arrow started being treated as well. It's a Green Arrow and Black Canary book, really, just without the title. And maybe it's a Nightwing and Oracle, or Nightwing and Batgirl, whatever you want to call it.
Taylor decided to do an arc where Dick can't be Nightwing anymore. For that, whatever that arc is, right? He's too busy with.
It's called Rick Grayson.
Pennyworth. Yeah, no, let's not put that out there. He's busy with the Pennyworth Foundation and stuff, and it's just Babs doing stuff. And it's still called Nightwing
as the vigilante for an issue.
Or an arc. 6. Yeah, I would be okay with that.
Yeah, me too. That was a great issue. I mean, yeah, it's a tie-in to an event, but it's a very strong tie-in to an event with good character work and nice action and pretty much enjoyable art. There's nice silhouette stuff when he's in the alleyway. Batman's entrance looks quite, like, obviously it's done all the time, but Batman can have a good entrance in a comic. It's not hard to mess that up.
As cranky as I get about Batman, I do love when he jumps down and does the whole Batman thing. Yeah, because there is a presence to him there.
Yeah, I even like there's like a shadow, and Dick actually refers to it as that's the shadow of a bat, and then you see him coming down. It's a nice moment. It's fun stuff. Matt, what are you giving Nightwing?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
Connor,
I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's really good.
I think I'm going to go with 8 as well. I'll go with a straight 8. Very good time stuff. Making Fear State feel nice and big. Speaking of, Catwoman issue 35. Ram V writing with Nina Vekueva on the art.
Which, before we jump into, do have an update.
On what?
Oh,
on the news that we were talking about earlier.
Oh. This is related to Ram V. Perfect.
It is.
Timing.
Ram V is indeed leaving Catwoman.
Oh, I knew I heard something.
So it was in his newsletter, which I hadn't read yet because I had a very busy week.
There you
go. Basically, the short version is he had his first kid like a few months ago, so has not got a lot of time. So he kind of went to DC editorial, and he is leaving Catwoman and Justice League Dark by the end of the year. So by December.
So I just had a very exciting, because that just means I don't have to read Bendis Justice League anymore. However, that means I don't get Justice League Dark in my life.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, when you combine that then with him promising that he's teasing future DC projects,
he tells us that. Well, he doesn't tell us the name, but he's got a project. He's got a project. How they give him like different nicknames.
Yeah.
Project Pressure is a DC book that's to be announced, and he says season 2 of Swamp Thing is coming. More news soon.
Well, like, as much as I would love his Catwoman and stuff to keep going, like, as long as he's got more projects coming, I'm happy. I just want more Ram V books.
Like,
we've got one more, so we're kind of losing 2 in the sense that we're losing Justice League Dark and Catwoman, but we're gaining a new one, and we are guaranteed a season 2 of Swamp Thing.
Okay.
And I can always get behind a creative wanting, to have more time with family stuff. Not just working themselves.
Take a wee break. He's just had a kid, but just you come back, write some more.
Well, even if he was like, guys, I need a break, I'd be like, okay, you just as long as we know more stuff's coming, that's really for me.
Yeah,
like Pete said.
Okay. So this is your Catwoman, which does have more direct ties to what's going on, because we have the aftermath of Hadley being killed, and
right. That was pretty emotional too, because Selena's like, that was meant for me,
Yeah. Well, no, it was meant for her sister to be
Right, but she also surmises that he knew I was gonna not let that happen.
Yeah.
She was meant for my sister, but I was meant to watch or even die trying to stop it. So,
Right.
kind of meant for her in one way.
Yeah,
Right.
but you feel the weight of this aftermath of her walking out of the shadow and kind of confronting the cop who's there, and talking about how they tried to find a valet from the explosion, but they couldn't. And I love as he says that. There's just that panel of him clearly disguised as a firefighter, leaving the crime scene. I love that little touch.
Is that pulling a Hannibal Lecter? Or is there a better comp?
I don't know if I'd call it that, but I can see why you'd call it that.
It's not wrong, but it wouldn't be like how I'd describe it.
Yeah.
So it's not really an Ocean's 11 either.
Because it's not because Hannibal Lecter also has the element of skin on the face.
Right. Right. I'm just saying he escaped in a uniform that didn't belong to him. So
I mean,
honestly, my first thought would be Hitman.
According to according to Halloween Resurrections, Michael Myers has even done that. So
does he? Oh, he does.
Yeah, it's how it retcons something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm scared for that franchise now.
when you said Resurrection, I went to Kills because of the fire.
Oh no,
because of the trailer, and then it dawned on me what you meant, and yes.
Yes. So, so Catwoman's sister's leaving. She's going because it's not safe, but she also feels like anyone who gets close to Selina gets burned, as she puts it. And I actually really like this. There's a little sort of quick flashback as she's like saying this. We see of Selina and Bruce on the roof from earlier in the arc, and it's this idea that Bruce did technically get burned in the sense that the wedding was a kind of a burning point. But other than that, he is the one person who kind of gets close to her and is able to kind of withstand all of the shit that comes with her life.
Far. I suspect this is kind of planting the thought in her brain of, oh, but what if in the future? What if I ruin it for him? What if I hurt him because of that? Yeah,
it's giving her self-doubt and all the rest of it, and insecurities. And then, of course, from here, like all the future state stuff really kicks in, which is all the drones. Because keep in mind, Alleytown is in Gotham. It's not like this is not Bloodhaven where we're out of the city. Yeah.
And the drones have been buzzing by because Saint wanted to make an example out of Alleytown first, so they've had a presence before this even bigger Fear State presence.
Yeah.
Which I like because Catwoman's little group kind of knows how to deal with it, and I like that vibe, and that even matches the Future State story a little bit.
And I mean that's her group of teens that she's been training. But I mean, even without them, there's also this weird anti-hero squad that we saw for the first time the last issue or two.
Yeah.
Which
is
the
monsters.
Yeah, Croc, Clayface, Knockout, Cheshire, and Firefly. I'm glad they told me who Knockout was because that was the one that I.
We went over this. She's
that first time that they showed up, we were like, who's she again? But sure, she's just there.
Who's this? Is this like some sort of Silver Age Poison Ivy? Is there another one? Like, what's going on?
She's super strong and tall. That's her gimmick.
I don't know. I was
she's not that tall.
Traditionally, she's supposed to be so. Just saying.
In Matt's dreams is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Maybe. Wildest dreams.
A tall redhead. Yes, Matt's got a bit of a type.
Okay.
So. Yeah, so Clayface gives this speech, and I kind of like the idea that Clayface is giving the pep talk about going out and doing some good, because he's the one who actually spent time in a bad team. So this idea that he's kind of like almost out of this group by default, he's the one with the most kind of like sense of right and like hero experience. It's just a nice little touch. I don't know if like Ram V's directly doing that because of that Detective Comics run, but I'd like to think he is.
Yeah.
So this is a quick page of them like fighting drones and robots and whatnot. Catwoman's friend Leo is at the hospital. He's got in his crutches. I'm glad they mentioned his name because I would not have known who this was.
Yeah, I forgot. I knew who he was, but I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've talked about in the past with good comics. Well, even issues into a run will remind you of the names when they first show up. I even appreciate the lettering puts his name in bold that first time, just so make sure that this is who it is. Make sure you catch it and don't just glance over it.
There's a second I'm like, is this meant to be Hadley? Is Hadley not dead? What's going on? Is this a twist? But no, it's Leo. So yeah, but she's in an emotional place. He gives her a bit of a pep talk, saying that She needs to get out there.
And then the Oracle shit happens.
And the Oracle shit happens, and Selena immediately is like, this is bullshit. This isn't really her. But is like, well, she sends Batman's dead though. I kind of have to go check. I kind of have to go and help and figure out, right? And she feels bad about it, but Leo's like, look, you've trained these people, these kids, they know what they're doing. You've put them in a good place to defend themselves. They're not going to blame you. So she rides off on her bike, and it feels like she might be like leaving Alleytown at the moment, and she's at least trying to. But we cut away to Riddler and Penguin is just like, we can capitalize all this magistrate shit going on, this fear state bollocks. We can, if this all happens and the magistrate take control, like whoever has the docks can make a lot of coin.
Make money.
And they're going, but they're saying Batman's dead, and he's like, yeah, when's he ever dead? When does he not come back? And they're like, but while he's sort of dead, we can make our move.
While he's not paying attention to us and paying attention to Saint. Yeah, I do kind of like this camaraderie amongst the villains. Just the whole phone call.
It's weird seeing Penguin
Oswald.
with a little headset.
Yeah.
Like on a Zoom call, just a little headset. It's so strange.
Times have changed. There was a time where if someone wore a headset and was sitting at a computer, it meant they were a complete computer genius in a comic. Like 20 years ago. Now everyone sits and does Skype and Zoom calls, and
now you ain't special. You're just a zombie.
Yeah. But yeah, and they also talk a little bit about Poison Ivy and how the Poison Ivy down below is kind of weird. Obviously, this is the more docile one. This is not the what was the other one
It's
called?
not Queen Ivy.
It's not Queen Ivy. Yeah, this is the timid one. But Selena gets attacked by drones when she's on her bike, and gets surrounded by magistrate troops. Or
great little
androids.
action sequence of her, with the whip and running here. I love that double page.
Well, I love that she runs into the alley and sort of says, when you get cornered here, it's Alleytown. There's a surprise waiting around everyone, and it's Shoes jumps down, and helps. So I really like that sequence, or this full page, because it's like her. It's like she's at the fire escape at the top, then she sort of bounces off the wall, and there's a sort of parkour kind of.
I really like her Cheshire-esque mask as well.
Yep.
Obviously very intentional.
Yeah.
Really tying it together, especially in this issue.
Yeah. So nice stuff. Yeah, I can tell you to tease that. So yeah, they're trying to shut down Alleytown, and I actually like if I have a complaint about this issue is that pacing wise, I didn't feel like it was about to end, and I turned the page, and was like, oh, the next time text is at the bottom. Oh,
is that just because it went in faster?
I guess maybe. I guess that's kind of an ebb and flow to a comic, and I guess because all the tie-ins are starting now, and because they're all kind of effectively ending on shit's about to go down cliffhangers, I guess getting that again after reading Nightwing, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, okay, I guess we're at the end.
I wonder if, because I read this before Nightwing, so maybe because I'd say I probably enjoyed this slightly more, in the sense that maybe this was a bit fresher for me in that way that you didn't have, and maybe Nightwing was like fresher for you.
Yeah, but as worth mentioning, Oracle does get out a communication on just basically an old radio signal, old school, and I like the effect of it cutting in and out. The old sort of thing they put in the letter in here. It basically just sort of giving everyone like Batman's not dead. The Oracle voices, it's compromised. Don't trust anything but this feed. If you're in Alleytown, they're coming for you. There's a large, when we see trucks and tanks and whatever on their way. So yeah, it really sets up that there's some big stuff going down. And it teases someone in particular in one of the trucks as well. I don't know if I recognize.
No, you can see the arms, but I think that's it's what's her name who could phase in and out a few issues ago.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
I'm completely blanking on the name, but it's her who was in that couple of issues.
I call her not Ghost from Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah,
there you go.
The Baba Yaga.
So it says next time a gardener, a clown, and a witch walk into Alleytown. And it does end with a panel of Harley and the gardener, who weren't really in this issue, but were in some of the pages in Batman. So again, it's kind of nice.
That's a name, White Witch.
White Witch.
There you go. So yeah, maybe some fun action next issue then. Again, another good tie-in issue. Is it as good as the regular run issues? No, but it's a really solid tie-in. It doesn't feel like it's betraying anything, and it does feel more ingrained into what the story was doing than Nightwing did. So, and the art's good. Again, it's like it's not as good as the regular artist, because maybe that's just partly because we're so used to what that regular art is and what this book's supposed to look like.
I think it's interesting because obviously we know the regular artist being Fernando Blanco is done with the book, isn't coming back on any of these, what we now are the final handful of issues. So I don't think it's fair to call this a fill-in anymore, but it still works with this style.
Are we getting any issues after the Fear State tie-ins then?
I don't know, there might be one, but I know he was saying that Fear State, this was going to be the climax of his run, because it felt like a natural ending point. So there might be like an epilogue issue, but nothing after that, I'd have thought.
Yeah, maybe like an epilogue issue afterwards to wrap everything up.
Yeah, that'll be a Mozart, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, hopefully it all clicks together.
Especially as, like I say, as tie-in issues go, this still feels pretty beholden to the main run, in that we're still dealing with all the fallout of stuff that's been going on. It's not just dropped everything and gone right Fear State like often tie-ins do. I mean,
presumably we still have to have a big Father Valley kind of conclusion of some kind.
You would think that, or they really want to leave that as he might want to leave that as something for the next writer.
Another writer, yeah, he could be a breadcrumb now, because he does have ties to
he failed and he escaped, so it depends whether he'll come back.
I hate to compare it to this because I'd be happy if this happened, but maybe this is something where he will use Father Valley in another book at some point, interacting with another character. Because now the Selena job is kaput. Didn't work out. Maybe he gets Father Valley gets a job to assassinate someone else, and that feeds into another conflict.
It's possible, yeah.
Maybe it's someone he'll keep playing with. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because obviously initially there's that weird disappointment of, it's not Blanco, and I've never heard of this person. But then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, these action pages are really nice, and shoes jumping down from the fire escape looks really good. So yeah, I had a fun time.
You still got Belair doing the colors that really ties it together, and those flat colors that this book's had. So it makes it feel pretty consistent, even if it is a little bit different.
Still feels that Blanco had the clean lines, but it felt very gritty, kind of in that way that Sean Phillips does.
Yeah, and then the colors kind of give it that like a bit of a noir feeling to it.
Yeah, and so this, a little bit different, but still in the neighborhood of that grittiness. This one's a little bit more sketch-like than clean, but it still works. But I think you're right with the colors. The colors really do some of the heavy lifting there.
All right, Matt, what are you giving Catwoman?
I'm going to give this a... I did like it a little bit more than Nightwing, so I'll give it a 9.
Ooh, Connor?
8.5.
Probably straight 8 for me, I think, on this one. Cool. Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly issue 1, James Tynion IV writing with Dani on art, and this is an oversized issue, one shot, and it's basically Miracle Molly's origin story. That's what it is.
I didn't know if I was going to read this or not, and then Tynion mentioned in his newsletter last week, the week before, that this is one of his favorite single issues that he's ever written. And I was like, that's interesting. I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, so it starts off in present day where Miracle Molly and some of the other Insanity Collective are breaking into an apartment to steal something. And when he gets there, there's like a sort of an older couple and a guy who's like their son. And he's like, I recognize that voice, and that kind of spurs us into the origin, right, and who this is. And this is actually her husband. she was married before all this. And her name wasn't even Molly. It was it Mary? I think it was.
Mary.
Yeah. And effectively, what this story is, and I quite dug this, is it's like she's got this job. She's not quite getting that promotion. She's at this tech company. She's got all these ideas, how to advance, but know what, they treat her like a secretary. They don't treat her like someone who actually gets to submit ideas and that kind of thing. But that's what she wants to do, and she's up all night on the computer. She's working hard. She's trying to fit into the system and succeed, and it's right. But her husband's getting more and more annoyed that she's not wanting to have kids. Her in-laws even are getting annoyed at her that she's not having kids. They kind of dismiss the fact that she wants to like have a career and rise in the ranks. Her boss belittles her and says, "Oh, it's nice you tried to submit ideas of that pink folder, but just make sure everything's done on time." And I think where it really shines is when it gets to the pages where it's just kind of showing her routine over and over again, and it's kind of the misery on her face as she's at dinner with her husband. She looks miserable during sex. And
you've got a couple like that do this. You've got like some that are just like the 6 panels. You've got some that are like the 3 strips going down. Mm-hmm. There's I think there's a gorgeous double page sequence of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, especially once you start hearing the Insanity Collective guy, what's his face?
Master
Wise, yes. And we hear kind of the speech that he's giving online. This is what she's watching, and she's hearing this more and more. And he's offering this thing where we'll take away all your memories of the life that you've been kind of forced upon, and you'll just be the pure version of just you and whoever you're going to be. And that's and obviously that's what she eventually does at the end. But there's some, but yeah, there's that 2-page spread where it's just over and over you see these events playing out, and she's in this rut, she's in this loop. And there was a point where she's on the phone with her mother when she's at work, and her mother gives her shit for not wanting kids, and like, no, stop with this stupid job nonsense and wanting a career. Like, why don't you want this? Everyone wants this. And I think there's something super relatable about everyone saying you're supposed to want the same things that everyone else does and be satisfied with the exact same things. The same nuclear family, the same type of normal job that everyone else has, the same, as someone who's always been a bit of a weirdo, this is a really relatable feeling to get from a story.
Yeah,
nerd.
I think just on top of the general relatableness, I think from Tynion writing this, I think there is an element of him projecting this. The rut here is the work for hire, the DC work that he has been clearly struggling with.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
He's talked about that publicly, that he's been struggling with that. The routine. He hasn't got the passion that he had for writing Batman that he did when he was writing Detective Comics. He doesn't have that in him right now. But then he can set himself free and do something else entirely. Funny. And that's what she's getting at here.
I think you could apply it to that right now and what he's going to, but you could probably also apply it to, I'm sure when he said to people he's going to try and make comics, I'm sure that was something that a lot of people who don't appreciate comics look down on it. Or even if they do appreciate comics, I mean, people appreciate movies, but if you tell someone I'm going to try and have a career in movie making, they'll go, your head's in the clouds, come down to earth. And
absolutely. The only reason I say this now is him saying it's one of the favorite things he's ever written. The way that this is something he's written presumably quite recently, and that's where he is in his career right now. That's kind of what I'm linking it to. Although I'm sure I agree it is applicable to various stages.
Yeah, and also
and to all of us.
Even his sexuality as well, because he's not straight. So it just does all these things.
Having not read this issue and listening to that, but knowing what I do about Tynion and some of the stuff that comes through in Nice House on the Lake, it definitely feels like this is kind of him projecting young James into the comics world and, be like everybody else. But he's like, but I'm not like everybody else. I just want to be me, and it feels like this is that, this is him doing that through the character of Molly.
Oh, definitely. I think it's funny because, Matt, you said before we said that you didn't read it because you weren't a big fan of the art.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you only really looked at the first few pages.
Oh, no, I went through, and I've liked some of the stuff that I've seen with Dani. For whatever reason, this art just was not doing it for me.
Because I'd have understood that first few pages where it's all like almost Kirby-esque colors with all the yellows and the pinks.
Mm-hmm.
But then it settles into the the flashback. It becomes very like almost Phillips-esque.
Mm-hmm.
It's real all this soft muted colors, and I don't know. I really dug it, and it's made me more excited for the the Arkham Asylum book.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit, and I think it fits the story. Like, I don't know if it would fit every story, but it fits this person. Because I think what's funny about this is that it happens to be a character who's in a Batman story and set in Gotham, but honestly, like, this could be like a creator-owned single issue, just about a person who needs to move on. Like, I almost get like a, not a cyberpunk, but like a kind of that, like the sort of your David Fincher, or maybe even like an Aronofsky movie of someone who's been driven not to madness per se, but it's like a psychological kind of like turmoil they're going through until they eventually
see this in Aronofsky's dreamlike style.
Yeah.
That's what I'm definitely sort of feeling from that. And
Pete, now you made me want to watch The Wrestler again. I don't want to have feelings right now, though.
Yeah, so of course, she sort of like takes a chance. Her husband says, "Why don't you pitch your ideas? You take a stand and sort of say, like, listen to me. Here's my ideas, and if it's, try and find out if there's even a chance of you getting a promotion, and maybe if not, then maybe we can decide for you to, become a housewife and have some kids, and I'll be the breadwinner, as it were, the old nuclear family." And she says, "Okay, I'll agree to that," and she goes in. Kind of storms into a private meeting, and obviously it's not a done thing necessarily, but it's not like in a overly unprofessional way either. It's like, hey, you're having a meeting about the ideas. I want to try and pitch to you quickly, and she sort of goes around, and it just you turn the page, and she's been walked out with her box of stuff. So she's been fired just for doing this.
And then they take her ideas because they're their intellectual property now, because she developed them while there.
I feel like the work stuff ties more into what he's been going through recently, but all the stuff about the personal life feels more like it's maybe more to do with like just his his personal life. I mean, that doesn't sound that insightful, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very clear as to why he is proud of this issue. It's very clear he's projected a lot of himself, his current career, his personal life into this story.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to use your ideas in the future, and you'll get no credit. And if you try to use any of your ideas that are in this book, then that's our IP. We'll send the lawyers after you. Now, of course, I mean, this is stretching things a little bit in the sense that, like, I suppose if she actually pitched them, then maybe they do own them. But if she just has ideas sketched away somewhere while she was technically on the clock for them, I mean, like, they can't prove shit.
No, I think that's fine. I think he can even pitch stuff, and it's fine. It's more just we'll accept this idea and then do nothing with it.
Yeah. So she's going home. She's on the train, and she decides to turn back at kind of this moment where she runs for the door again, and she sneaks back into the building. Tries to steal her ideas back, and I thought it was going to get kind of sexual assaulty here for a second. Just the way it was like framed with like him in shadows and corner on the desk, and he never actually does. He's just a prick.
Yeah, I think that was maybe just you reading. I don't think there's ever even an implication that was. It was just the art. It was just that panel of her like sort of leaning against the desk as he's like standing right in front of her. But no, he's just a complete prick, and he's like, no. Maybe I'll offer you a settlement fee to use your ideas, right? And you can take that. That's the generous offer. But then he tries to call security, and she hits him over the head, and it actually, I don't know if it confirms that he's dead, but if he's not dead, then he's certainly been... It never says that he's dead. She clearly thinks he is, though, or might be, which is why she runs. But also, we know that he did get a call off security. They're on their way up.
Mm-hmm.
They will come in and, call an ambulance, whatever. Who knows? Maybe he's actually fine in the long run. Yeah,
maybe. But she doesn't know that. And basically, she calls in and tries to contact the Insanity Club. Says, "Hey, I need help. I've done something. I need to be a part of this." This is kind of her being pushed over the edge. And sure enough, Master Wise is like, "You sure you're ready to go through with this?" And yeah, she makes this willing choice to sort of like eject the life that's been forced upon her, so she can just be her. Because there's a lot of times throughout the issue as well when she'll look in her reflection and we'll see Miracle Molly in the reflection, because obviously she looks like a normal sort of blonde hair, wears glasses kind of woman, but she looks in the reflection, she sees, and that's maybe where I get the cyberpunk vibes, because she looks like a character from Cyberpunk. With the hair and the color like
yeah,
tech.
she has the
She's very
undercut.
the robot eye as well.
Yeah. So But at the end of the issue, after she's went through this and she's actually put the clothes and the hair on, or in fact, I think it's actually when we come back to the present day, it's the final page where she rejects, like, I don't know who you are, buddy. Like, I'm Miracle Molly and I'm no one else. And he knows because she used to use that as her like a chat name or like a handle. Yeah. Shut up. But when she's like on her drone flying away, she looks over at the reflection and it's her own reflection and she smiles because it's really her. So the messaging's really simple. It's a really strong story, a strong narrative, strong character drama and arc. Hard to find.
For me to top off with, I thought was pretty incredible art, some incredible layout sequences.
Yeah. No, I thought that was good too. Yeah.
The double page, not double page, just full page splash when she's like in the machine getting her memory wiped, and there's like flashes of all the things that it's erasing, and it's her glasses shattering, as she's the truth is revealed. It's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's so funny that Ghostmaker is like everything we don't like about a new character, and then Miracle Molly, I'd say, wasn't like a complete hit the second we saw her, but she seemed interesting. She had a cool look. She wasn't just an outright villain, so that was kind of made her more engaging. And then you have an issue like this, which I think just completely solidifies her as a real character, where I'm like, okay, this is a person that I understand now. This is a person that I'm kind of rooting for.
I think at first glance, I would say I'd have probably preferred, Punchline or Clown Hunter. I think they had stronger debuts than Miracle Molly, but I think this has made her a more well-rounded character for me that I want to see more of going forward, as compared to those where I'm like, yeah, sure, I can take a living.
Yeah, she's more real now, and maybe that's because there's a lot of the real writer in her, but like she does feel like a real character, a real solidified.
And here's
character.
The thing: this isn't like it's an amazingly inventive story that we got here. You lined up Fincher and Aronofsky films. It is the sort of story you've seen before, but it's just the style it's told with, the clear, personal flair that it's got to it that makes it so strong.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go one step further and like it's not as dark as this, and she's not as she's not deranged, but it is kind of the same sort of character story that you get in something like a Taxi Driver. It's all about this one character going through their life and the psychology of what's going to drive them to the decision at the end. It's that kind of in depth.
Yeah. I think it's great that you went to Taxi Driver, and I was going to go to Fight Club, which again, same lines. Neither of us went to the DC related movie that would have been the.
No, because F that movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that movie's not good.
No, it's not.
So, no, it's really good. What are you giving Miracle Molly, Connor?
I don't know, 9. I love this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there. I'll go 8.5. I think I'll go a nudge lower, but I really liked it as well. It had a good vibe. Like, once it started montaging through the middle, and I was like, sometimes when a comic tries to do, what is effectively a montage in comic book form, that's when I know I'm either really into a book or out of a book, because if I'm out of the book, it just feels like a mess of images with like no...
Just a sequence of panels.
Yeah, it's just a lot of panels of random things. But even though this was repeating things essentially, because it was like, oh, here's her waking up again, here's her staying up late again, here's her being bored during sex again, or whatever.
To the art's credit, it doesn't actually reuse the same images.
Like yeah.
Which you can do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they are all, individually drawn, things when we're repeating these sequences to show that they're not identical. It just feels the same.
But it gave me this passage of time. It gave me this feeling of the turmoil stacking up and the weight of this life like bearing down on her. Like I really got that as it went on. So
yeah,
good stuff. So yeah, if you didn't pick up Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly, pretty big recommendation. I think that will enhance your appreciation of that character, and she's going to feature in Fear State more heavily as it goes on, no doubt. So would recommend it. So, cool. The Flash 774, Jeremy Adams writing with Christian Duce on the art. So this is another fairly standalone issue. The running thing of this sword in space coming towards Earth is still sort of being teased. It lands at the end of the issue. But the main story of the issue is that Wally is going to a father-daughter dance with Irie, and he's all nervous about it. Linda's putting his tie on and telling him to calm down, And he's freaking out and saying, "Well, it's the first dance, then it'll be a second dance, and then before you know it, she'll be dating and then married and have kids." And he's like freaking out. He's being kind of adorable dad Wally. And then Iray's in a dress and he's all gobsmacked and they're all excited. The banter's pretty strong in this issue. They're driving to the dance and there's just little things where she'll mispronounce a word. She's because actually there's a lot of fog that comes in, which is actually related to the villain. Dr. Midnight's up to no good. But she explains, did you know that fog is just water molecules that hang in the air after condemnation? And Wally's like, do you mean condensation? And she's like, that's what I said. And that becomes like a running joke where she'll say something wrong, he'll correct her, goes, that's what I said. And it's kind of cute, it's kind of adorable. And they have this banter, but when they get to the dance, everyone's knocked out. Obviously, they've been unaffected. Well, they have been affected because their powers are gone, but they've been unaffected by this gas because they're speedsters. So they try and drive home to see if the rest of the family's fine. And Dr. Midnight comes trampling down the city, riding a double-trunked purple evil elephant. So what's happening here is Dr. Midnight is like basically creating things in nightmares and they come to life. That's his whole tech. So what he's doing is he's going around and like as people are sleeping, he's like taking from their nightmares and making those things a reality. But he happens to be going to where Wally works because that's where he was fired from. He's the disgruntled scientist. And she talks in Wally to letting her go with him. Because he said that, being a hero is not about powers. He also want to teach both me and my brother about being superheroing, and you have to have learning experiences and things like that. And he's like, damn, I need to stop being such a good dad, because now she's like using my own dad speeches against me. So it's fun stuff. He's there to steal stuff. He's there to steal nightmares. She disses Boomerang. It's a funny little moment. But basically, he's got this headset thing that's like, it's almost like a, like Back to the Future when you first see Doc Brown in the 50s and he's got this weird head helmet on that's like a science gizmo.
Yeah.
He's got something like that. And Irie just sort of sneaks in and tries to grab it. And Wally has to distract Dr. Nightmare while she's doing so. And they run away. They're being chased by a variety of monsters that have come from nightmares. I can't even begin to describe some of these things. But Irie's like, look, you know what? I'm a good dreamer. Let me put the helmet on, go to sleep, and I will conjure my dreams to fight these monsters. So he sings her to sleep. And the way they win this fight is that she conjures up, let's see, a robotic lion, a giant green dog, and when I say green, I mean like Green Lantern Construct-esque.
Like Clifford, but green.
Yeah.
Okay.
A female soldier, which I think's maybe Colonial Marine-esque? I don't know, it's hard to tell. A double-headed rabbit that's giant, and a giant panda, but the panda has a big hole in the middle and like a sort of pink border of fur around the hole. So think panda meets donut. Is the best way I can describe this. And yeah, they chase him off. They win. The powers come back, and they're upset they didn't get to dance. So Wally speeds her off to Paris, and they dance in front of the Eiffel Tower. This is an adorable issue. This is an adorable father-daughter issue, and I think if you want Wally being a family man, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. The jokes are cute. It's a very much a standalone, just light-hearted issue. With just a little tease at the end for the ongoing plot. But I think after that first arc, which was a very heavy 6-issue arc about the jumping through time and the speedster bodies, it's kind of nice that this book has had like a 2-parter and a 1-shot before it's getting into whatever its next arc is. I do think a lot of comic runs could really benefit from taking a few standalone stories in between the big arcs just to set the scene, give us a bit of downtime.
Have a breather. Have
a fun story. Yeah. And Duce's art is totally fine. The problem I have with these heads sometimes isn't actually that present in this one. I think Iray's chubby little face is actually kind of great because she's constantly smirking or whatever. Yeah, so I'm going to happily hand this I'll say 7.5. I'll say 7.5. I was tempted to give it the 8 just because I had so much fun with it, but Dr. Midnight's just kind of whatever. he's just there to be a platform for the father-daughter bonding to play out, but it's a fun time. Again, I'm glad that I have a nice B tier flash book to read. Okay,
Good.
I'm enjoying my time. All right. Batman the Detective, issue 5. Tom Taylor writing with Andy Kubert on the art. The penultimate issue of this, which feels like it went in fast.
I'll be honest, it's gone in so fast that I forgot I still had issues of it left. If that makes sense. Where I was like, there's still 2 issues of this, because it felt like I've had a lot of it.
It's funny because obviously we've been a bit more down in this compared to other Taylor work, but it's still solid. And there's big great moments in this. There's a ridiculous thing with the bat truck that happens. I
think this might be my favorite issue of it in that it feels the most just all right. We're just having fun.
Yeah. Batman puts in the call to the Bat Network, which is not just other Bat characters, but like just officials who are in ranking places in various cities and stuff like that.
So I wasn't here for the 4th issue, and so I read that because I hadn't. And when we got to that point at the end, I was like, "Oh, Club of Heroes stuff! Like we have Knight and Squire. Like why not put?" And then it's just kind of like random government officials and people, and I was like, "Oh man, we missed an opportunity."
I think it's less exciting than having Club of Heroes stuff, but also in some ways more interesting that he has this level of agreement with just all of these relatively high-ranking people. It seems. The bit where he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't want any stops at the France-Belgium border," and they're like, "Done." That's it. That's all it took.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone in there because the White Knights, and led by Equilibrium, we have a name for her, the leader.
Yeah.
They're attacking this group of people who were all invited because all people who were saved by Batman, which has been the running thing in the book. And Batman comes storming in. He tells the people, the victims, to back up, and then he just says, "Oracle, land it behind me." And the giant truck that he's been driving just comes in and creates a barrier so that the bad guys can't get to them, and also they evacuate everyone by getting them onto the truck as Batman fights everyone. So fun big set piece moment. It's one of those like, oh, okay, that was a fun beat. It was ridiculous, but if we're just here to have some silly fun and cool.
When he's fighting Equilibrium after, it's like, oh, she's way better than we expected.
Yeah, is it Harley turns into like a demon? Or is that someone else turns into a demon?
The demon? Yeah. Oh, that was someone else. They were there on the first. If you go back to the first page where he's doing a standoff with them.
Oh right.
Yeah.
The panel where she's pointing the gun. They're all pointing the guns at him. He's there. It's like Grundy-esque almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of Grundy, Croc.
I got confused, but I thought someone transformed like mid-fight.
No, he's been there, but there hasn't been an explanation.
Just reasons. Just go with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I would if Kubert's art wasn't so blocky and makes everybody look like Wreck-It Ralph. So
I wasn't really feeling that in this issue, to be honest. I feel like they're a lot better when they're in costumes.
I still get like a sort of JRJR light vibe at times with this art and this.
You see that?
Like when we get to Equilibrium's backstory, that looks like a properly proportioned human being. That's not every page, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other main part of this issue is that Descartes up and about, even though he shouldn't be, and explains the backstory of Equilibrium, there was basically the other person like Bruce that he trained after Bruce, but with the key difference being that she was willing to kill, and that...
Oh no, another anti-Batman type. What shall we do?
See, I appreciate this because it isn't just anti-Batman. She's not, immediately off to be evil. It's like, no, she worked for, law enforcement, the things that, Descartes trains them to do, and was good at it.
Right,
Well-
but she was so good. That's my whole thing. This is another version of Batman where what if Batman killed? And
I
you
don't
know,
agree with that. I don't think that's what this is. She's better than your average person. Don't get me wrong. She's clearly very good. And
well, she's
but-
so good though that like in issue 4 she poisoned Batman.
yeah,
Yeah,
it-
so that's what I
it's-
mean. Like she's.
but I
you
don't think
know,
it is what if Batman killed, because she was killing, but she was killing just the targets that she was assigned. I'm not trying to defend that,
Is
but
it-
again, like she
Right.
wasn't being a villain.
It's also worth mentioning that she had nothing to do with Batman at all. The only connection is that Ducard also trained her, right? And she went on her
Right.
own path. She had her family, and then this guy that Batman saved,
It's actually very silencer.
and this guy that Batman saved, during like a
it was during the Knight and Squire stuff.
Yeah,
when he was over in London.
during the Night Square stuff. This guy that he saved, who was a criminal, but obviously Batman doesn't let people die, so he saved him from a burning building. And this guy ended up drunk driving and into an accident and killed her family. She survived, but her husband and child didn't. And that's what kind of started her on this spree, and sent her going after, because if Batman hadn't saved them, then her family would be alive. I mean, I don't love it. I don't necessarily agree with what Matt's saying, though. I don't really get the.
We got to
Batman
that
thing.
point, and Ducard's like, that other person I said that I also trained that was as good as you, and it was just like, okay, I don't like that.
I don't mind that, because
as
of
a
course,
trope.
I don't mind that there are other people that these. It's not like she went to all the same people that you trained. Just to
No,
but
but also on the heels of Ghostmaker,
see, I find this way more interesting than Ghostmaker, because
Yeah.
Ghostmaker literally did all the exact same things as Batman, right? Whereas this
but
was
I'm just
she did one thing very, very, very well.
I got there and I was like, to me, it's not interesting. It's fine, I just expect more from Taylor as well. And I was like, oh, okay, the backstory, but now she's gonna get revenge on Batman because she can't see all the good Batman's done because the
Which I
one personal
assume is
thing
how
happened to
this
her.
ends, right? Is trying to get through to her. Because this is in other writers' hands, I would assume this just ends up in a punch out. But this is Tom Taylor, who likes to end stuff with meaning.
Yeah, I mean, the issues, I think I had more fun because of the big set piece of this issue than maybe some of the previous ones. And the backstory's fine. I love it. I don't hate it. It's and it sort of adds to the general feeling I've had with this story is that it's fine, which is kind of weird for a Tom Taylor book, but I guess they can't all be.
And again,
complete
it's all
winners.
about managing expectations. I just, after having, a time away from it and then reading 4 last night and then reading 5 this morning, I'm just like, it's all right, And then I got to that and it's just more typical kind of like, I was excited for this story because it seemed like something different and it's just kind of hitting similar bat tropes. And then not even the fun bat tropes that I want to read. Like, again, throw in the Club of Heroes. Like, let me see the Musketeer guy in there,
Suddenly,
helping.
Knight and
Not
Squire
just-
isn't enough for you.
No. Knight and Squire's never been enough, So, and I love Knight and Squire. Don't get me wrong. Like, this new Squire, I think that's probably the best addition this book has given us, right? Like, I do love her balance with Bruce, and that's typical Tom Taylor, banter and making us care about that character. It's just everything else around that. But, it's kind of, to me, missing some of the more fun flourishes that an international Batman story I expect.
I'll be honest, I was happy it wasn't any of these other foreign back characters.
I know. If you're going to do silly like that, go into it. Because to me, him having a network of operatives that aren't Batman Inc., to me, that's because Batman. But when you throw in the Batman Inc. stuff, that these are other heroes that are kind of
I get where
operating.
you're coming from, but
similar.
him saying, "Oh no, I've helped them out with lots of favors in the past." They
Right, but
kinda
that makes-
agree with my mission. They'll do things for me within reason.
Right, but that makes
seems-
Bruce omnipresent, and that's what I don't like. At least
wait,
if it's
how is that harder to swallow that a bunch of people have taken bat monikers and fought crime?
because that's a network, right? And
This is
so, of
not
course,
a
he
network.
has-
This is a network of real people who actually exist and have positions.
right, that have positions in government, right? That at the end of the day,
This is no different to him having a relationship with Gordon.
Yeah, this is just a bunch
right,
of people
Gordon
at
in
Gordon.
Gotham, right? where Batman's out of. So this is just like, hey, so Bruce is just making randomly checks.
So you're okay with Bruce going globetrotting? You want Bruce going globetrotting, and that's what you wanted this book to be, but you don't want him to make any relationships with any.
No, that's not the relationships. It's the characters here that this is blank government bureaucrat type, which is not fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, okay, like, so he has a whole network of bureaucrats all across Europe, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he's maintaining these. So like, Bruce is always, so to me in my head, right? That's why the Club of Heroes exists, because Bruce can't be everywhere at once, right? This is what Batman Inc. was, and all of that stuff. And that's why it makes sense that there's a network of people that handle stuff. So now when Bruce does go over there, so like, are these people just always handling stuff for Batman because he's omnipresent?
I don't think they're really handling stuff for him all the time anyway. I think they're just doing their jobs, and when he contacts them, they'll be like, well, we'll see what we can do and help you out.
It makes Batman sound like a cartel leader.
It sounds like he's just calling in some favors.
Yeah.
And
I'm not a huge I'm not a huge fan of the idea of Batman Inc. and having other Bat characters all over the world anyway. But
I do like that because that plays in with that era.
I don't think this is Batman Inc. I don't think it's a replacement for Batman Inc. This is just him calling in favors from people he's worked with.
No, I agree. This isn't Batman Inc. I'm arguing why I'm happy it's not Batman Inc. that's coming up here.
Fair enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Batman Inc. as well.
I'm not saying that Matt's moving goalposts constantly when it comes to Batman. I don't think he is, but I don't have any idea in my head what the layout of these goalposts are. It's like a web, and I'm not sure which ones are a goal and which ones are just like the space in between two other goalposts. It's not just two posts. It's not just two posts.
It's Aussie rules football, and that's for me to know the rules for, and you not. Right?
There's like
there are no rules in Aussie rules football. Everyone
exactly.
knows that.
There's 17 posts, and not all of them count. And I don't know which ones.
It's not Aussie rules. It's Quidditch, and if you know, you know. All right, that's it.
Harry Potter's so shit. Anyway, so shit. Anyway.
The book ends with her just, they're going, oh, she's going to try and kill London, basically.
Yeah, that's the cliffhanger.
All of London.
Yeah, because he stopped a bomb going off in London, so technically everyone in London was saved by Batman. So
also by this, then the Equilibrium should also go after the entire Earth because Batman has saved the Earth how many number of times?
Yeah, I don't know if him saving the Earth is on public record, perhaps, as like him like. Is that in the paper? Because I don't know if the press get wind of Earth 2 is invading and the Justice League.
Wasn't that the whole premise of Infinite Frontier?
Huh, Connor?
Wasn't that the whole premise of that Infinite Frontier?
It's true, but this started before that, so that's not happened yet.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. So there's no news headlines. Justice League saves Earth, and people don't know Batman's part of the Justice League.
Yeah, but that's a group effort. That's not just him. Maybe she'll promote once she's killed everyone that Batman saved individually. Maybe she'll then promote to doing what he did as part of a team.
Yeah. I haven't been down with the whole Equilibrium idea from the start of the book either. So that's just me going.
I kind of think it's meant to be a dumb idea. We're meant to look at it and go, "Well, she's wrong."
Yeah.
And that's presumably going to be the point.
I know.
I'm not arguing in favor of cause I don't think this book's that great. Like, I think it's just okay, right? And that's kind of been the stance the whole
just
time.
Want Matt to be consistent.
It's just sometimes Matt will throw out a complaint with Batman that it's like a sort of that gif of Christian Bale where he sort of does like a double take. Like it's just one of those moments. That's all it is. So anyway, let's rate this son of a bitch. Matt, what are you giving Batman?
5.5.
And Matt's numbers.
I really didn't like this book.
Yeah. Connor?
That's 7.5. I had fun with it.
I almost want to give it a 10 just to upset Matt, but
I don't care. I know you have weird taste when it comes to stuff. You don't like Batman Inc., so that's fine.
That's like a 6.5, I think, for me.
It's only a point more than me.
Well, no, because 5.5 in your scale is way lower than a 5.5 in my scale is.
That's true.
So don't even start.
Yeah, we all know a 5.5 from Matt is like a 3 from Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or you, to be fair. Our scales are... we rate things that are pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm maybe a little bit harsher than you, but not that similar.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Batman the Detective. Aquaman, The Becoming, issue 1, Brandon Thomas writing with Diego Olortegui on the art. So, yeah, this was an interesting. So, it was almost going to be a Patreon book, but I only had time to read this or a Patreon book, and I thought, I've got less books next week. I'll do them next week. I'll fit in the issue 1. We'll give this a chance and see how it is.
This scratches the Aquaman itch, right? Like, I'm glad that we have an Aqua book because I still haven't read Black Manta. And from what you were talking about, it sounds like something I'm going to enjoy. I just have to pick that up.
I've not read that yet either.
Yeah, but seems like Brandon Thomas really has a hook, pun not intended, into Aqualad / Aquaman / Jackson. So I can appreciate that. Just where the story ends up going, I'm not exactly sure of. Like, I don't know. Is it him becoming his own person? Is that what the Becoming title is? Is it him becoming Aquaman? Like, I'm not sure just from this first issue.
Could be a little column A, a little column B. It's that's what it is. So we have Aqua Danger Room, basically, underwater VR, where
bit of an eye roll. I had enough VR this week in my comics.
Jackson thinks he's on Apocalypse, fighting Darkseid. The rest of the Justice League has died in this simulation, but he jumps into the water, he gets to the mother box. There's a couple of nice that page where it's the vertical panels of him diving into the water do look quite nice, actually. Yeah. And he gets to the mother box and he achieves his high score. Then he wakes up out of his pool and it's like, all right. And Arthur's like, good job. You're doing all right. Mira shows up. Everyone's all happy. Aquaman's leaving to go to, was it Mars, I think he said?
Yeah.
For a little while.
They're off to meet Frankenstein on Mars.
That's right. That's right.
Like, yes. This is some Justice League shenanigans.
Casual mention.
Story I want to read.
Yeah, casual mention of Frankenstein. By the way, Aquaman, Arthur, my old pal, old buddy, Mars is lacking and when it comes to the water department, so better bring a tank.
But once got canals, so you know, we'll figure it out.
So, yeah, Mira's sort of left around and she's off to do some stuff, but Aqualad I shouldn't say Aqualad anymore, suppose, given the title of the book, but Jackson goes into town to meet his mother for lunch. They have some banter and he completely just loses his cool when the cute waiter decides to start taking their order, as waiters are known to do traditionally.
Well, and it's also that the waiter goes, I know who you are. And it's like, well, what gave it away? The Superman or the superhero suit, or the fact that I have my water sword handles? You know, like. I mean, I do like the way he's walking to the diner. Like he's saying hi to a bunch of people. You get this idea that he's really people have gotten to know him in the town over the Aquaman arcs and stuff. And that's why when he gets all flustered by the waiter, I like that where he's like, of course he knows who I am, like. It's like he loses his sense for a second, and I thought it was handled real well. Yeah,
and his mother's just like, like, oh, my boy's flirting. This is awkward and embarrassing and all sorts. But there's the sense that someone's watching Jackson when he's on his way there, and when he hears some police sirens, he rushes out because Flying Fishman is attacking a bank or something. And to make this a bit more humorous, it cuts to like a Skype call between the Titans, because he was meant to talk to them in a meeting. So you got Wallace, you got Beast Boy, you got Raven and Starfire, all kind of joke, and they're basically just making fun of the fact that he's got a villain called Flying Fishman. That's likable enough.
I know, I do, and I like the fact that it's either, I think it's Wallace. That's like, yeah, it is. He goes, so wait, he ditched us at the Titans Academy to go to handle Flying Fishman? Like, what's he up to? So I do like that. I do like the balance of the Titans here. And him being kind of awkward about it. Like, yeah, to have to see Bay. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So whoever's watching him is going to strike soon, and sure enough, we get a Lantean looking like a suit of armor, someone coming out of the water, back where the water danger room is, whatever you were calling that thing. And
Oh,
attacks
The well.
There you go. And Jackson is attacked. He fights back. There's a bit of an action sequence taking place. But eventually, there's more people that he's kind of out of it a little bit when he starts seeing these more people. But they kind of beat the shit out of him, and it ends with just. It turns out these people that were fighting him are actually the Atlantean guard, and they're arresting him for crimes of terrorism. Because you see, as he was fighting this guy in the armor, they ended up causing like an explosion.
Blowing a hole.
Yeah, big boom, shall we say? So it's an interesting cliffhanger, I guess. It kind of feels a little bit like a leap, like why are they just immediately assuming that he's a terrorist? It felt a bit forced to me.
There are ties to his, he's from Zebel. Well, his mom's from Zebel, and we know they're constantly at war with Atlantis, right? They have this uneasy alliance, and whatnot. So there's a part that you kind of skipped over that I really liked.
Sure.
Whereas after he beats the hell out of Flying Fishman, who was I think he was a college level swimmer that got cut off the team, and whatever, and now he's gonna start robbing banks. The girl that was there was like, yeah, can you just hang out with me today? Which seems like because she was terrified of what had happened, which seems like a big reach to ask like the local superhero, but Jackson does hang out with her. And I think that did a lot for the character. Like what you're saying, the town seems to know him. Yeah,
that was probably. I mean, it's weird that I skipped over it, but it probably is maybe the most genuine kind of heartfelt moment of the book. Because
he goes to lunch with her. They go walk around, and he makes sure she gets home safe. And I don't know, it felt like it's kind of what I look for in superheroes, especially lately, where stories have a tendency to get darker than maybe I like. So the fact that like here's this young hero like kind of doing a thing Superman or Superboy would do, or even Dick Grayson, right? Like, but yeah, no, I like that scene. That really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think this book's okay. It was nice to see Aquaman and Mira again, and sort of feel like we're getting a book set in that corner of the world. And Jackson getting a spotlight is nice, but I wouldn't say like I think it's all fairly solid. Maybe the rush to the cliffhanger at the end felt a little bit jarring, but I also wouldn't say it's anything particularly. I mean, maybe that moment where he spends the day with that woman because she's so distraught after the attack is maybe the one thing that sticks out. But for the most part, it's just kind of all right. It's it feels like the sort of thing that if we got like an issue or an arc in the middle of an Aquaman run where we're going to focus on Jackson for 5-6 issues, it feels like it'd be thrown in there, kind of like that. It still feels a little bit like, because the art's fine as well. If anything, it's even good, but it still feels a little bit of that house style Aquaman. So it feels kind of just typical in a lot of ways.
I do like the coloring though. The color is nice and vibrant. So I think that hit a lot of that house styly kind of stuff. But it's better than I thought it was going to be, because I just read this out of, I'm going to read something. I need something else to read. So I picked this up because I miss having an Aquaman book, monthly. So, and I was, not that I was surprised, but it ended up being better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound kind of just lukewarm, but I am kind of lukewarm. It didn't set my world on fire, I guess is all I'm saying. But I mean, it's perfectly fine. Whether or not I read issue 2, it's going to come down to how many other books are out that week. And but but it's not like I'm definitely reading issue. I have to read issue 2 of this. I don't feel that way.
Well, I don't even feel like that, and I think I'm higher on it than you. Like if the week's packed, I might just wait for a trade. And read this. You
ever heard things are going to stack up though when things get pushed around and whatnot. So, all right, what are you giving Aquaman the Becoming?
I'm gonna give this a 7.
Yeah, I'll probably go like a 6.5, probably similar to my detective rating. All right, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, issue 4. Tom King writing, Bilquis Evely on the art. And this was, the last couple issues were very much like slices of one particular part of the trip. this was, I'll call it the montage issue.
Yeah.
Which is to say that it kind of like every few pages we skip ahead to a new world, so it really gives you this sense of the trek, the journey that they're going on, looking for the murderer of the girl's father, and it kind of goes through just this sort of variety of scenarios that Supergirl's in and how she reacts to certain types of violence, because it's all violent. It's all, is it Clem's the bad guy?
Yeah.
He's with a group who are straight up like blowing places up, murdering people, pillaging.
Yeah, the brigands.
The brigands are going from world to world doing this, and they keep getting there at the aftermath of each time, and it's kind of like sad and depressing. Pretty much through. It's a very dour issue in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and to me, what I like here is that it's showing how Kara is different than Clark with certain things. Like, this is doing a real good job of showing you her almost like, I don't want to say it's Survivor's Guild exactly, right? Because she remembers Krypton, right? And so here it gets to a part, and I don't want to skip over too much, but it's where the main character, not the main character, but the girl that's with her, I forget her name, but she talks about how Kara deals with these things, and it's not with heat vision or frost breath, or as she keeps her eyes clear so she can see you, and she doesn't freeze things with her breath so she can talk to you, and she holds your hand, to let you know that you're not alone.
Yeah, she slows down to walk. She could speed around, but she slows down to walk by your side. Yeah, that was one of the lines.
And I was like, God damn, Tom King.
And he knows how to spin a yarn.
He does. And there was that scene in particular that stood out, and then the burial scene.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that just so Superman, right?
We start with this alien baby that Kara picks up in this aftermath, and they go ahead and we see her feeding this alien who's in hospital, who witnessed like his best friend be killed by the brigands. And there's so many little things that I think it does really smart here in this conversation, which is maybe like 4 pages or whatever it is. But this alien, like, in 4 pages, King is able to give him a distinct voice, where the way he phrases things, where the way he talks about his friend, the way he repeats certain lines or phrases, it just like by page 2 or 3, I already like felt like, oh, he's talking like I expect this character to talk now.
Yeah.
And it's insane to get that in that few pages, but he does it.
Yep.
There's quite a bit of dialogue that helps.
I mean, true, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue and these
This
issues.
is the page I got to where I got irritated with work because I'm trying to read and I keep getting stopped. And I was like, you don't understand reading a Tom King book right now? All right? You need to focus.
There are words.
Yeah, but it's building this good sense of character, so you care about this guy who's only on like 3 or 4 pages, but it's also building this menace of just how bad this asshole is and how much he deserves to be killed, which is almost like challenging the reader to maybe side with the girl rather than Kara, that maybe this guy should just like have his neck snapped because he's awful.
Right, so like, I still believe that Krem is more of a symbolic figure than an actual figure. That by the end of this, Krem is more than just one person. You know what I mean? Like, Krem is representative of this girl's vengeance and whatnot, just because of the way that he's a through line to all these horrific acts, and that's based on the story that they're following him because Kara needs to get the antidote to save Crypto. But I just keep feeling the idea that he's more of an idea than a man.
I don't know. We saw the actual man in the first issue, right? And then he joined up with the brigands. So it's less that it's one person doing all these horrific acts. It's this group are doing all these horrific acts that they they happen to be following one person in that group.
No, I know, but I just think by the end of this, it's more about the idea of Krem than actual himself. If that makes sense.
I kind of get what Matt's saying, in the sense that, like, if the girl does get to him and kills him, like, because she's been so obsessed with the idea of the vengeance that it's almost less about him himself and who he is,
right.
Sure,
kind of thing. But the next section we get is the alien who's digging graves, and he's basically digging hundreds of graves on his own, because if he doesn't, then the government on this planet are just going to put all the bodies into a mass grave, and his own was it wife or daughter were amongst the dead. So he wants to do all these graves. And when Supergirl offers help and says, "Can I help you?" he sort of says, "No, it's my duty. I really shouldn't." But then she kind of makes it clear, no, like, you know,
you don't have to go it alone.
yeah, like
let me help you.
You know, let me help. And he's like, well, I suppose it's more likely to be finished in time if I do have help. So yes, I will accept your thing. And then of course she uses her super speed. She speeds around and just does it all like super quick. And he's kind of like in awe, and it's a very sweet gesture, but it's obviously this really sad, dark thing because it's digging lots of graves.
Right, and he's almost doing like it was his penance, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have to do this because I couldn't stop them. And Kara's like, "Oh no, you don't have to do this by yourself. Let me help you." And then she locates, the daughter's remains.
Just looks at his DNA and checks the
Right.
DNA of all the rest. Like, yeah, that one matches. Enough.
Yeah, I'm not really critiquing this book for this. I have to say I don't like the idea that the supervision that Clark and Kara have can see DNA. Like, I don't like it being that,
But
microscopic.
I don't either. And that could have been a nitpick, and that's because Supergirl things. However, I took it as this is the character who's telling the story's memory of this going on. And that as it's being told, in her brain, that's what Kara did.
I get where you come from, but also I feel like it's not, as much as I don't think we really like it, it's not actually that much of a stretch beyond what they do anyway.
No.
That I'm like, yeah, that probably is just what happens.
It's not, or alternatively, Kara knows what this man wants to hear, right? And says, "Hey, I scanned your DNA. I found your daughter," and she's telling him so he can get closure.
But it's really just some random girl that he's taking.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but to him, it's not any less real, right? Like,
Sure.
she is helping him through this, and I just that's what this is her helping montage, and I really did it. I really dug it. Like, it's almost like the labors of Kara's
that was not intentional, but that was such a pun.
It was not intentional.
That was such a pun.
It wasn't intentional.
He dug it.
I dug it.
Like a grave.
But no, that was a really, like, you talked about the Nightwing stuff making you emotional. That one, for whatever reason, hit with her helping. And
I mean,
it's interesting for me because this is easily my least favorite issue of this book. That I get everything that you're coming from, like the idea of this being the montage and kind of giving that sense of, no, this is a big journey, and all these have the through line with the massacres and the violence and the horrors. But I don't think for me any of the stories were enough. There wasn't enough time on any of them to really connect in enough time, enough space for all of them, so that I felt like, okay, I get what it's going for, but I didn't actually get the feelings of any of them.
I mean, I could say as I was feeling. I mean, the next one is this big alien who's like 15 foot tall or whatever it works out to be, but Kara's like, "No, hit me," because it's like, you have to get your rage out, hit me. And she's like, "No, I am big and you're small, it will hurt." And it's like, "No, I'll be fine, trust me." And this
is an alien from a warrior race, right?
Yeah, Joe, I like about this though is there's almost like a hint of comedy in this one, where like she really has to be talked into it, but eventually she does a big, huge, like, sort of ground slam onto Supergirl. And she's sort of like, "That I thought you," and then it becomes pow pow pow, and there's like a whole page of her just smashing at her, and then it's like, but then it's like sad at the end though, because then the big alien's crying and Kara kind of hugs her as best she can when she's that much smaller than her.
Thing that I did like about this too is that it talked about this alien was off at war against the Picts.
Yeah, I noticed that little
which ties it to Strange Adventures just a little bit, which I really like. So I thought that was nice, and that's why this big warrior alien couldn't be there to defend her home and her family.
I don't even necessarily think it's saying they're definitely in the same continuity. I think it's just like a wink wink.
No.
But
it's
little nudge nudge.
It's the Tom King verse, right? Where it's like, I'm gonna throw this alien race in here that up until Strange Adventures I wasn't familiar with. So but I do like that it's just a throwaway. Was that Connor?
Yeah, no one was really familiar with them, I don't think, until that book.
Well, I don't even know off the top of my head if they're a DC Comics thing or if that's something that King, created whole cloth for Strange Adventures. But so that just that name being there, I got a small, small smile out of, and
So then
but
the characters, debate whether or not they should kill Rem. Obviously, the girl wants to. Kara's saying no, no one should. And they're on a very sort of somber looking planet here with it's just all like carved, like the people here carved their stories into their exteriors of their buildings, so it's all very detailed and
yeah, because the life on those planets are so rough, they want the stories to be seen by everybody, which again is another touch that I like here on the storytelling level, because this is a story being told about Kara, so I just like that little bit.
yeah, and Supergirl goes in to sort of see the story, as it were, and when she comes out, she's kind of like, she's shell shocked and says, I saw all of it, and we see then the next scene on a planet is that they've actually caught someone who was a part of the brigands or worked with the brigands, and the crowd is stoning them to death, and we see Supergirl in the crowd, and the girl says, I know he deserved that, but I thought you'd have saved him. And Supergirl just says, "Did you?" And it's kind of like this thing where obviously Supergirl's against killing, but she wasn't going to intervene with this.
This is their justice.
Yeah, this is their rules. This is their law that they've put through. So so it keeps, and then the next one is like this like mystical fantasy castle in the sky that they're going through, and it's just like bloods everywhere. It's getting like darker and darker, and this is the one where Supergirl basically just flies off so she can go to the sun and scream and feel the pain, and like it's just
so what makes her do this is that this was a planet of monks, and they did not fight the brigands, and the brigands just did whatever, and
they sat there and chanted or prayed, and the brigands just still murdered them anyway. It was like just this horrific sight,
right? And it was violence for the sake of violence, and that's where you almost feel like where Kara's reached her breaking point. So she flies up into the sun because that's the one place where she can let all of this out, and herself not have repercussions. Right?
And the point, pardon me, the point as well is that Kara will never admit that she feels this, that it's getting to her. She'll put on the brave face for those around her, and this weight that she carries, because she came from a world that died, and she's going from world to world, and it's not the entire worlds that are dead, but she's seeing just like communities or families or entire towns that have been just decimated by this awful force that's going and doing this. When the scene of the gravedigger earlier, this guy, like, he's not the last of his kind, but he is the survivor who lost a loved one, and he's burying. I mean, yeah, he lost his daughter, but he probably knew a lot of the people, the other people that he's burying too. Like, he's lost his entire world in a sense. But Kara says to her that she's going home. Like, that now that she knows that they're closing in Krem, that the girl has to go home. She can't be there for this, and then she doesn't like that. Obviously, she's she's saying no. But yeah.
So I like here what her ultimate thing is she's like, well, no, this is my decision. This is my fight. And you're on this ride with me. Like, I know you're looking for the antidote to save your dog, but this is my mission too. And then she tells a story about back home on the rock farm, which is still a hilarious, sentence to say, as a rock farm, that, they basically have mules, and that you can really break a mule by making it go on its journey or make it do its work on its own. Or from the time you get that mule or donkey, you have it carry the burden with another one, and then you get more work out of it. So it's almost like, no, let me share this burden with you. And so Kara's taking all of this in for all these other people, so other people don't have to have it. Yet, this girl realizes, like, this is my burden as well. Let's share it together. And I think that's a really, like a nice way to end this part of the story on, because now we're halfway done.
Yeah,
know?
and it kind of ends in this beat as well, where her convincing her, because it ends with her getting on Kara's back and flying off. That she's kind of convinced to let her stay, but the way she kind of does that is that Kara says, "No, you can't be here. You're too young for this." And she says, "Well, what age were you when you first saw Terror?" And she says, "I was a girl." And she's like, "Well, what am I?" Like, so it's kind of this acceptance that, like, not that Kara's a parent here, but it's kind of that same thing of like parents never wanting their kids to go through the horror they went through at a certain age. They want them to be innocent longer, to be shielded and protected longer. And this is but in this case, it's not just like something's kind of bad that we all have to go through in our adolescence happen. This is your family was murdered, or in Kara's case, your entire planet was destroyed. These are extremes in this context. And it's just that idea of like her accepting that this girl's already went through the murder of her father. She's already kind of different to other people her age. She's already kind of, in the same way that a Bruce is already traumatized after his parents. So there's no making him a normal kid after that. I mean, maybe you can put him on a different path and make him not be Batman, but there's no making him a normal kid after that. So it's like, okay, you're already different, and we're already on this journey. And it's also, like you said, Supergirl allowing someone else to share the burden a little bit. And I think that's something that, if that's one of the mission statements of this book, is Supergirl sort of learning that she has to not be a solo character, that she can have a support system. It's the sort of thing.
She doesn't have to go through it alone.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing, and you get why she does, because she is the only one who remembers Krypton. Clark, as much as he's another Kryptonian, doesn't remember it. And I don't think it will, but you could totally see how this would spin off into an ongoing, not by King I'm saying, but like you could sort of see how we'd get an ongoing Supergirl book after this, where it's her coming back to Earth being like, you know what, no, I don't have to be alone, I can be with others. And that's where you sort of pick up, and you can the run can do whatever it wants. The only thing it has to do is have her have interactions with people and get close to people, and that's it. Anything you do with that.
And again, it makes her different from Clark in that way too. That how she handles it isn't the same way he would. Clark, and I do like that.
Clark would have stopped the stoning.
Yeah,
like he would have.
But that's Clark. That's the way he experienced the world is different from the way that Kara has experienced the world. So, and just reading this type of stuff when it gets to like these type of stories of the different cultures and stuff, I wonder how much of Tom King's experience as a CIA analyst has informed a lot of these, especially this one in Strange Adventures.
Yeah, I think this. I think they all have to some extent, because they're dealing with like PTSD, or Strange Adventures. It's like what you do to win, and I think with this one, like the idea of like Supergirl coming across all these like massacres and stuff. I'm not saying Tom King was necessarily going into like the aftermath of like horrible things, but he certainly was hearing about them.
Aware of them.
He was certainly talking about them, and like maybe whatever his specific job was, I don't know, but he was certainly in the know of them. So that was something that he would have been dealing with from time to time, if not frequently, depending on
And
so
just the art on top of it with Evely, I can never say enough good things. This one though gets to showcase a bunch of different things, because each planet is different. And each one looks just as stunning as the last. And then just that scene where Kara flies into the sun, and just the rage and sadness on her face, it's like perfect. Like,
is Evely did the colors on this as well?
I believe so, because it just credits her as art, right?
No, Matthias Lopez.
Okay.
Does the colors? I just want to give a shout out, because like especially early on in this issue, where it goes from like the planet with all the graves, just all this like muted soft colors, and then the next one is the warrior alien, where it's like Kirby-esque,
right?
And you've got like again up to this like the gothic fantasy kind of one with the with the way that is, and extremely detailed artwork on like the ornate architecture as well, but.
Yeah, but that's
the way the color palettes shift every time.
Because that goes to a lot of whites. Like it's very.
The whites is the monks.
Yeah, that's what I meant. We used to talk about the fantasy one.
The dark gothic one, where it's where she stays outside.
The one that would almost be Giger looking if it was just.
I was just gonna say Giger-esque.
Yeah, a little bit. If it was a little bit more erotic, it'd just be
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. Gothic
Gigery.
fantasy.
Just alien dongs everywhere.
yes,
That's
alien dog,
Giger.
alien batons, you might say.
Batons. There you go.
Matt loves them.
Gross.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you know what I appreciate about I think this book and kind of the list of work that King's kind of been putting together with all these 12-issue minis and in this case 8 issues, that
Mm-hmm.
even if this one didn't hit me in quite the same way immediately as some of the other ones did, is I'm kind of appreciating the variety and his like sort of trying of different, because this is a very different style and it's something where he wants that like constant narrator, this like past tense kind of like the legend of that time I spent with this amazing person who's this miracle kind of vibe.
So Connor said that this was his least favorite, and I think this one's my favorite just because like not that he's worn me down, but you know, go back to the first issue we talked about. I wasn't in. And now with knowing King's point of view on Kara and knowing what that is, I'm way in.
I understand why.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying
I can see all the technical parts for this issue in particular. Like I can see all the technical parts of why this works, why this is effective.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as I was reading it, I kind of felt myself checking out. Like there wasn't enough of a consistent thread in this issue, and the individual, you know, short stories essentially is what they are, weren't quite enough for me. I think for me this book has worked better in the longer, you know, here's the story of this issue.
I imagine you'll probably get that again next time.
Yeah. I do think though, like, you know, when it comes down to it, you say, you know, there's a lot of what King's experienced in this book, like we're sure, and you know, we'll talk about that in his other books. I think I find King harder to relate to than some other writers. For example, like, you know, we were talking about Tynion earlier with Miracle Molly, with how, you know, there's a lot of himself in that issue. And I found it a significantly more relatable issue than pretty much anything I've ever read from King. So, you know, whatever it is about King's, you know, his life experiences that he puts into his writing doesn't necessarily translate to me as well as some other writers, I think, which is why sometimes I bounce off his books, even though, you know, sometimes they're really good and sometimes they are, I can stick with them and they're great, but other times I just kind of bounce off them because things don't work for me. And I think it's down to just what he brings to it, not in a craft point of view, not in a technical level, but just his experiences that he puts into don't kind of translate to me, perhaps as well as some other writers.
Oh, well, fair enough.
I'm not going to argue with that. I just wanted to show like how this was your least favorite, but with, you know.
Well, that's it. Like I can see the technical elements of the system, why this should be so effective, and why, you know, for people this would be their favorite issue. And I'm kind of just annoyed. I'm annoyed that it's not for me. I'm annoyed that I kind of didn't enjoy it as much as I want to.
You're fundamentally broken because you have no soul because of your hair color. So it's just...
that explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, like that's just it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like Kara will still walk with you. All right. Oh man, this also could be a religion parable. Now that I just said that, and I didn't even think about that.
Oh, am I going to get carried? Is she just the single pair of footsteps in the sand?
Matt's brain's imploding as he's realizing more possible ways to read this story. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So Matt, what are you giving the Supergirl
issue? It's a 9.5.
Whoa! Look at that, Car.
I feel like I just recreated, you know, the meme of the guy blinking, just being like the what? I feel like I just did that. No, it's like a 6 for me. No, I understand what it's doing. Art is gorgeous, but I just couldn't connect with it.
Yeah, I think I'll go with a 9, straight 9 for me on this. That was excellent. So cool. Well, we do have a Patreon, but every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. At one of the higher tiers, you can make myself or Connor read a book. Connor's going to take care of one this week. He's talking about Harley Quinn Annual 2021, which is not the patron who usually makes him read Harley Quinn. Another patron, to make sure he doesn't fall behind, has jumped in and said, hey, this month he can read the Harley Quinn Annual to keep on track. So, there you go.
That's why I don't do this, because I don't trust people.
Yeah. And it is a relatively essential issue in terms of just the ongoing plot. It's very much, you probably should read this in between issues 6 and 7. Obviously, 7's not out yet, so I'm just making an assumption here. But it feels like the next step as opposed to just a random issue. So if you are reading this book and you skipped the annual for whatever reason, you probably want to go back and grab that. Because I know some people do just skip the annuals. They see annual and they go, right, okay, easy skip book. But no, you probably need to spend your money on this one. Obviously, Stoney Phillips writing. David LaFente, Marco Fela, and John Samavira on art, which already tells you my feelings, perhaps, that I have 3 artists on a 40-page book, which is not ideal.
But are they broken up into different chapters? Like,
not entirely. At first,
dang.
I thought it was going to be because there's like a framing device.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it gets to a point where it just kind of cuts between the other two, and it's very jarring. And there's at least one of the artists I like considerably less than the other two that I do not like very much. Which is a real shame because the other, like, 2 of them, yeah, they're not, maybe not like necessarily my personal favorite, but they're like, it's solid, really clean work, and then strong lines. Obviously very cartoony because this is the Harley Quinn book, and that's the aesthetic of what it's going for, and that's fine. And then you have a couple that are like one artist that's just really, really heavy on the lines, and one that's like really almost anime in comparison, and they don't really mesh well together, the 3 artists. But there is one that I dislike more than the others, but I don't know which one it is because but I mean, it doesn't break it up by telling me. Sometimes it'll tell you this artist did these pages. It doesn't do that. It just has the 3 names, and I don't know the 3 artists well enough to know which is which. But the issue is basically you've got Kevin, who's again for Peter and Matt who don't pay any attention to this book. Kevin is the ex-Joker gang member that Harley has befriended over the course of the book. So you got him and Solomon Grundy coming into Mr. Freeze and trying to attack him. And, well, Solomon Grundy's trying to attack him. Kevin's trying to not get killed.
Well, I mean, I think Kevin McAllister would do well against Solomon Grundy.
That's fine. You picture that all you want whenever I say Kevin.
You sure Kevin McAllister's not Joker?
Yeah, I think Kevin McAllister grew up to kill criminals with deadly traps.
So you're saying he's Jigsaw Dexter?
Yes.
There you go.
Perfect.
Glad we got that sorted. But yeah, Freeze basically, he freezes Kevin everywhere but the face, so he can talk. It's like, what are you doing here? Oh yeah, Keepsake, which was the random villain that showed up in the last couple of issues that was working with Hugo Strange. He's kidnapped Harley, and they're like, oh, we were told by Two-Face that you could help us. And it's like, all right, well, what happened? So it's the story, flashback, so to speak. Here's what happens, and we get who Keepsake is. He's basically a semi-terrible henchman who has worked for a lot of the Gotham villains, it seems. He has a thing against Harley because he once worked for Joker, but Harley fired him. And then we learn out he's been fired by like all of them. So when he kidnaps them, he shows up and they're just doing a little bit of skateboarding for Kevin, rollerblading for Harley, a little ramp. And he shows up and he's got one of Penguin's umbrellas, but painted it orange, and he's got one of Firefly's flamethrowers, but painted it orange. It's his thing, it seems. And he knocks them out with like a Joker toxin and kidnaps Harley. So when Kevin wakes up, it's like, well, where do we go? He's like, well, he had Penguin's umbrella, so we'll go and see Penguin, see what he knows. And Penguin's like, oh, that guy, yeah, I fired him because he kept stealing stuff. Like, which is basically the running gag with all of them, that he just kept stealing all their stuff, so they kept firing him. And they keep saying he should have been called kleptomaniac, or there was another like joke name that all of them were like really bad villain names, like even by villain name standards. They weren't great.
Kleptomania is running wild.
Exactly, and The jokes, it's the sort of thing where it feels like it's supposed to get funnier when they keep doing it over and over, but it never got there for me. So I didn't really work that well. But they got a Penguin. Penguin's like, nah, go see Two-Face or someone. No, he sends them to Cheshire. And Cheshire's like, no, he tried to steal my sword. So he went. Cheshire, I think, sends them to Two-Face. Two-Face is like, no, go see Freeze, which brings you full circle because and Freeze can find him because he stole one of Freeze's old cold guns. But Freeze is smarter than every other villain and has GPS tech in his equipment, so he knows where it is. And Keepsake, he has recreated Ace Labs. Like obviously they destroyed it, but he's somehow got a building that decked out to look at it. He's got vats of toxin, acid, whatever it was, just there, and Harley hanging there and like, oh, we're recreating this, and we're doing this whole thing, and Kevin and Solomon Grundy are on their way to save her, but she saves herself as she does, but breaks out of her chains, does the fight, and does the thing where they fall over into the vats of acid, and then Solomon Grundy has to go and rescue her from the vats, and turns out it wasn't acid after all. It was just water that he dyed green because obviously he didn't have a vats of acid that he could just fill up at short notice.
They would know if it was acid if it was boiling. I'm just saying.
They would, yes. There was no it's boiling acid as she fell in, let me tell you that. But they leave and they're like, all right, that's cool. They had to like make an agreement with Freeze, Kevin and Solomon Grundy, that is, to get the information for Harley, and it turns out that they needed him to go and be clowns for like someone's birthday. It was a weird thing where I'm like, yeah, they had to be the clown at his niece's birthday party, and it's just strange. But yeah, it's more just Keepsake's backstory as to why he's the villain here, and I feel like it's made him less of a threat than more, because all it's done is kind of feel like he's a bit of a joke, right? He's, even by this book standards, he's not really much of a threat. But the final page is him coming up, going, "Oh, Harley has no idea. She thinks my gimmick's just stolen weaponry." As he's standing there over the yellow umbrella, a yellow Bane mask, one of what I assume is Zaz's knives, and then you just go, "I love being underestimated," and then to be continued in Harley Quinn 7. Well, I don't think the issue did a very good job of selling any sort of threat, even with this ending.
Keepsakes just sounds like a nerd.
Yeah. He called himself Keepsakes because he took keepsakes from all the villains that he's worked for, and it's not good. It's really not. I say the art it's not as terrible as Rosmo for a start. Like, give that the book.
Oh, high praise.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm on the record many times for not enjoying multiple artists on one book.
Yeah.
Even for an annual, especially when they don't blend well or there's no narrative reason for it. I find that really rough. And then you have particular pages, or one artist in particular, I assume, that where there are just certain pages that stick out as being, to me, pretty ugly, more so than the rest. And yeah, it's not the longest read for an annual of this book. Like, don't get me wrong, I've read things that took a lot longer, but it was very uninspired. I felt kind of going through the motions. The art was all over the place. It's probably like a 4. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Zaz has pizzazz.
Because back when Phillips was doing the Future State issues, people were really excited, going, "Oh, this is going to be this great Harley Quinn run," and there's so much promise. And I thought maybe it's just Rosman I won't like, but then I get these issues. The last issue without Rosman, I'm still not enjoying it. Not really, which is a shame.
Psych.
Yeah.
Firefly's here for his weekly cameo. I become Cat. You here for the outro? Yeah, good cat. So that'll take us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books. And unlike last week, we actually have 5 to rank.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us do anyway. All right, Matt, why don't you start off with your moment / panel?
It's gonna be from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And there's a bunch I get picked from, but I think I'm gonna put the giant alien punching at her, and Kara helping her through her rage. That I've talked about my anger issues, so that really resonated with me.
Ah, yes, that's what was relatable for Matt, was the anger issues. I don't want to be a parody, but I kind of have to go with I wasn't going to let that happen to my son. Like,
that's a good one too.
It sniped me. It sniped me with emotion.
Yeah, I'm going with that as well because it just came out of nowhere. And God damn it!
Yeah, hit me like a truck. All right, Connor, what was your cover of the week?
Honestly, there's not like a ton of covers that I love this week. There's a couple that are all right. So I'm just going to fall back on a Catwoman Jenny Frison variant because if in doubt.
I'm actually also going to go Catwoman, but I'm not going with that one. I'm going with the one that's like she's on the hood cam.
See, now I feel like you're cheating a little bit because that's an actual 1 to 25 variant. And we would always did it was just the regular variants, right?
Wait, what? But I don't remember this being a rule.
It
definitely. Yeah, but me moving goalposts with Batman. Now you're moving goalposts for covers.
It definitely used to be.
What?
Someone can go.
I
back
thought it was
and
any
that.
variant that on a book that we talked about.
Maybe back in like episode 22.
It's been so long that we've only ever picked from the variants that have been like the readily available ones that I've just assumed that we've kept that.
No, there was a period at the start when there was no variants allowed, but I don't. If there ever was a rule about only the regular variants, then. But
some of the long-term listeners can.
This is the one that spoke to me more than anything. I mean, the Nightwing variant's all right.
Are you saying you didn't love the Supergirl variant?
Absolutely not.
Cover ever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't. The Flash variant's kind of fun. You know, it's Wally and Irie in costume. It looks nice enough. But no, Catwoman on the dash cam on the car with the kind of the video effects and the sort of the wanted at the top. It's a bit. It's got a theme kind of to it.
It's quite clever. You know, known accomplices being the creative team at the bottom.
Yeah, it's fun. Matt, what are you going with?
I really like the Man Up Hole Aquaman becoming cover, but since Connor wants to put in a rule about no 1 out of 25s, then
I didn't put it in.
I'm gonna go with the Catwoman Jenny Frison too, because it's really good.
As the one who makes the rules, that is not a rule, right? That's case.
I feel like you might have made the rule in the first place.
Case settled. Well, I changed the rule. Okay, it's the beauty of a dictatorship is you can just on a whim change your mind.
I disapprove of this nonsense.
Most people do disapprove of dictatorship, except the one who's the dictator. So
begging for a coup.
There you go.
No, you're gonna side with the side of capital. We've already been on this. I can't trust you to do a coup because he's gonna be like, "I'll give you more money not to coup," and you're like, "Okay."
Oh wait, how much money?
Exactly.
All right. Best start of the week, Matt. What you got?
Evilly. Not even a second.
Of course, of course, it's Connor.
Honestly, that's a great choice, but I'm going with Dani for Miracle Molly.
The art that Matt looked at and said, "No, I'm not reading this."
That's the one. I loved it.
That's the one. What am I picking? I don't know. Catwoman was good. Jimenez and Batman was good. I like Dani's art. And Evilly was obviously pretty good too. I think, yeah, I have to go with Dani as well. It's close, but yeah, Matt's on his own. Matt's
fine.
Matt's walking alone like Batista.
Never, because I have Kara with me at all times. No footsteps though, because she hovers. She does that.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Top 5 books of the week. Then Matt, you can kick us off.
I'm starting a Superman-based religion. I'm just letting people know. But number 1, Supergirl. Number 2, Catwoman. 3, Nightwing. 4, Aquaman Becoming. 5, Batman.
Connor.
1, Miracle Molly. 2, Catwoman, and Nightwing, Batman, and then Batman the Detective. Actually, no. Batman the Detective above Batman.
Oh, okay. Bold choice.
Yeah, changed my mind.
From the ginger corner. What was that under Matt's breath?
I don't know, but I don't approve.
It sounded like I hate you so much.
No, I looked at what's coming next week.
Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, my top 5. I will go with Supergirl in number 1, Miracle Molly in number 2, number 3, Nightwing. No, number 3, Catwoman, number 4, Nightwing, number 5, Batman. There you go. I think that lines up with what I said. So there you go. That's the top books. I will now tell you what's coming next week, as is time-honored tradition on this show. And this segment is sponsored by Skittles. I'm kidding, it's not. I wish I was getting.
I was gonna go. Dang.
I wish I was getting Skittles money.
Connor.
Yeah, no, I was like, give me the capital.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming next week we got Detective Comics 1043. We have Action Comics 1035. Justice League 68. Good luck, Matt. We have Robin issue 6. Strange Adventures issue 12. That's a biggie. Batman Superman 22 is out. Superman Son of Kal-El, as mentioned previously, it was pushed to next week, so we're getting double super dose next week. We have Harley Quinn issue 7. Good luck with that, Connor. Although not next week.
Next week.
But
So
you have to read it the week after, though. So
Yeah.
the misery is still there.
And that's a Fair State tie-in, so maybe it'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
There is a bear on the cover.
But Batman.
I saw that, but it's also a Roswell bear, so it's kind of a bear.
Batman Reptilian issue 4. Legends of the Dark Knight issue 5. Blue and Gold issue 3. Checkmate 4. So a lot of things that I don't think I've read the last issue of, but a new issue 1 though, we have Deathstroke Inc., which, to be honest, the whatever story set that up and a backup or something recently was pretty good. So
Well, it's Williamson too, so I
yeah.
trust him.
So I'm intrigued. Yes. So I'll be definitely trying that next week. Superman 78 issue 2 is out. Wonder Woman Black and Gold issue 4. Batman vs Bigsby: A Wolf in Gotham, which also got pushed a week because I remember saying that last time.
I was going to say, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. But hey, things get pushed. I mean, after all, there was a news story a couple of weeks ago about how like a big list of books got pushed by a few weeks. So I guess those delays are still stacking up for some. Mr. Miracle Source of Freedom issue 5, and then Ruby Justice League issues. That's still not finished. That's been going for ages. So yeah, obviously that was a lot to list. I think I actually have less books next week than I did this week. I have about 6, I think, next week. So nice and comfortable amount. So that, a couple of patrons, will be go nice and smooth. And me and Matt will talk about some things. Maybe talk about a little bit of wrestling here or there, or maybe a little bit.
I don't like this voice you're doing, and stop, because I want to go take a nap.
A little bit of horror movies. Some.
I mean, that's most likely yes. Wrestling and horror movies is my brand right now, according to Twitter. So, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't know. I muted all the wrestling tags.
That's fine. I got hockey coming up soon, so.
I'll jump back in on that one.
Yeah. Also, I muted Star Wars Visions, and I've never been happier. That's all I can say.
Have you not watched it? Or you're not watching it because it's too anime?
Yeah, thank you. And I got tired of everybody talking
I'm
about it.
very excited to actually sit down and watch some of it soon.
Yeah.
Anime
Hey, if people are
trash.
excited by it, I'm happy they like it. I don't need a breakdown of every single vision, all right? By 14
fair.
different people. So I just
Is
muted
it
it.
14 different people, or is it Alden with 14 different accounts?
How can we be sure? Really?
Oh dear.
It wasn't just him. It was like a majority of people I follow. And I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do what Pete does during hockey season. Just gonna mute it. Not
It
see
was during whatever wrestling event was on this week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Grand
I
Slam.
assume. Was it? What was it?
Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Yep.
My entire Twitter feed was just that. I was like, nah, sick of this.
What if this
I'm
was
doing it.
going
Leave it
on
all.
at the same time as a tennis event that Connor was really involved in? And the only hashtag was Grand Slam. He was forced because you can't get rid of that.
No, I went through and muted about 7 or 8 different wrestler things that were popping up in my thing that day, and I was like, nope, gone.
I'm gonna start spelling CM Punk wrong in the tag, so Connor has to see it now.
Well, he finds a way. He finds a way.
I will send you so much Visions content.
By the way,
you can. I'll just go and open it.
You know what? I'm so proud of this joke that even though the time has passed, I'm going to circle back and do it. When you said there was no way to be sure about 14 different accounts from Alden, I was going to respond with, the only way to be sure is to nuke Florida from orbit.
Well, I just became the Falcon meme. He's not a lion, but he's right.
We have all been various memes today, haven't we?
Yep.
All right, there you go. That's the show pretty much. I will thank our Patreon producers for the month.
Dictators nuking Florida. We're going incident.
Oh, thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. Shut up. That's one of the one of the higher tiers that we have on Patreon is to be a producer, but you can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses. At the $5 tier, you get the show a day early. As soon as it's out the oven, get it out there. So go and have a look, see if you're interested in supporting us that way and helping keep all the content coming. You also get bonuses for other Mail Fuzz TV shows. I don't know if you've tried some of the movie podcasts that are on the Mail Fuzz Movies channel, the sci-fi and horror podcasts. So go check those out and see if you're interested. But you can also support everything for free. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. And if you're listening to the audio feed, which more of you are, you give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Podcast Addict or wherever you listen to your audio podcasts from. And share us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. If you want to ask questions or share news stories or whatever it may be, I don't know. Insult Connor, for example.
Yeah,
you can do that if you want. But that is us. So yes, I am going to go and quickly put this into the editing software, hit render, and then go crash for like an hour while this cooks.
I'm gonna go eat 2 slices of pizza and take a nap before I go see a concert tonight. So,
and then
watch Green Knight.
Which crappy punk band are you going to see?
I'm seeing Bayside, Census Fail, The Bomb Pops, and Hawthorne Heights.
Sounds like a lot of crappy punk bands, yeah.
21-year-old me is stoked. So, yep. Okay. Bayside's good live. Pete, I actually think you wouldn't mind Bayside.
Maybe I don't know. I never heard of them, but
yeah.
I know from some of Matt's other musical tastes what to expect. I know to a degree.
Some of the bands that Matt, I can't remember which ones, but there's a couple that that he likes a lot that are playing at a festival near me next year. Yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go.
You should.
Well, like Jay-Z?
Wonder Years, is that one that you're a big fan of?
Yes, I love the Wonder Years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're playing.
Yeah. They just played their first show back, filling in for the story so far because one of their members got sick. So
I'm sure they're playing Slam Dunk next year.
Yeah. Oh. So excited.
Maybe
live music's back.
Maybe Prince will go. Maybe he'll.
Yeah, I went to my first gig in God knows how long, last week, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I've realized I've reached the point. Well, actually, I don't know what US gig culture is like, but in the UK, in terms of like rock, metal, punk, there's the scene of guys, the 40-ish-year-old guys who wear a leather or a denim jacket with patches on and just stand there with a pint.
Okay, the patches. You're talking about a battle vest with the patches, denim. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not always. Sometimes it's leather. Sometimes it's just a jacket, not a vest specifically.
Okay.
Probably because the UK is colder. But I'm basically at that point. I've realized I'm at that point. That's me now at the gig. I'm just going to stand there and chill.
When I went to Newfound Less Than Jake was the first time I didn't get involved in a mosh pit in years. And my body thanked me. Also, pandemic still exists, and I don't want other people's sweat on me if I can help it. So
that's a wise life choice, I think.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, October's soon. That's exciting. October's good.
Thanks for the calendar update, Pete.
I'm just saying, things might happen in October.
Sounds like my Siri went rogue.
Just things may happen in October that could be interesting. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. You can, of course, I already did all the promotion things. Why am I doing that again? See, that's just the thing. You tangented so much into stupid concert shit that I have went back into autopilot into doing the start of the outro again. It's not my fault
that you don't know what day it is because your calendar updated to October.
It's not. I'm not saying it's October soon. I said it's October soon. That is an accurate statement.
You know, it's also the show's over right now, so end it. Let's go.
This has been Comics From The Multiverse, episode 272. Thank you very much for joining us. We also appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Why did October soon sound like a threat?